you got to do. Fight the good fight every moment, every minute, every day. Fight the good fight every moment. It's your only way. All your life you've been waiting for your chance.
Hello, everybody. It's us again. And I wanted to welcome Brian, Chuck Middleton, and Doug Wilkinson to the show. Welcome, guys.
Well,
So, Rafi,
Good to be here. And Michelle.
how y'all doing?
Yeah, so we weren't here last week. I do apologize. We had to take a little break, but that's okay. We're here, we're back now and ready to rock and roll. And so I'm going to go ahead and scroll down the chat and say hello to everybody. So I'm going to say hello to Stupid and Terra Nation. Let's see. Wendy Hebrews, Tommy, Boo, Sean, Gio, Rosie, Johnny, All the World's a Stage. Let's see. Peanut, Wendy, Christopher. Welcome, guys. Yeah.
Good crowd already. Awesome.
Yeah. Glad that everybody is here. I know Peanut is at work. Well, thank you, Peanut. I appreciate you. So,
It's really
yeah.
good to see everyone. Yeah, it's awesome to see everyone.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, hopefully, we're gonna get some knowledge tonight and and check this thing out here. You guys want to say anything about it before we start?
Definitely should be an interesting show for sure.
Yeah.
I think everybody's a little bit familiar with it. You know, I mean, we've been hearing about it for years, about the 7 Noahide laws, and I got a video to show there's not 7, there's 30. So just keeps going on and on. I was telling them a minute ago that it's like none of this stuff is in the Bible, you know, and it's all by oral. That means that these rabbis passed it on orally, kind of like behind closed doors. It's almost like a cult, you know, like a cult leader, but it's for a nation. You got to go through them to get the truth. You know what I mean? You got to go through them to get to God, and they reject Christ, where Christ is the mediator. He says there's only one mediator between God and man, and that's the man Christ Jesus. And these devils, you know, over there, they reject all of that. And they say that you have to go through their mystics. You'll hear all about this stuff later, man. It's wild.
And I don't know if I said hello to Ann. So hi, Ann. Welcome, welcome. I don't know. I just can't remember yesterday. So I just want to make sure I get everybody in there. I also want to let you guys know. Hi, Marlene. Good to see you. Anybody that has any channel content that they like to get out, and they have their own channel, I do mod everybody. If you want to put your channel link in the chat, I have no issue with that. If you want to promote your channel, by all means, please do. The more truth we get out, the better. Hi, Ange. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Really glad to see you, sis. So anybody that wants to promote their channel, please do. You can do it all through the stream. I don't really care. You're not going to hurt my feelings one bit. So yeah, let's do that if that's what you want. If there's also like a special link that you guys want to share, hi, Awake. She's awake. Welcome, welcome. So yeah, you know, you can share links. That's why everybody's equal here. If we do seem to get trolls in the chat that somebody's not modded and they're causing issues, by all means, you guys have a wrench. You guys can knock them out if you feel they're being inappropriate or trying to distract from the stream. So that's why you guys are all modded too. I do have some manager moderators in there that can do a little bit more. But yeah, please, 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 do what you guys think is right, and please don't take any abuse from nobody. And we're here to hang out and have a good time and share our thoughts.
Yep.
Hi, Kip. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome, brother. So, let me see here. I don't know. Kip, are you wanting to come up or anything? If you do, let me know and I'll drop the link for you. Just let me know in the chat. Hi, Monica. Good to see you, babe. Ron, just a voice. Welcome, welcome.
Number 7. Nice.
Just gonna let some people pour in here and see what we can get. All right, so I'm gonna drop the link for you, Kip. If you want to pop on in, I'll go ahead and get that going.
I want to give a little background too before we get started.
Absolutely.
If you wanted to let a few more people pop in, or
if you want to wait just like maybe a couple minutes, yeah, let's see, because people are starting to pop in now that they see the lives going.
Okay.
But yeah, if you are putting your channel link and you want to get your channel out, put next to it or something, this is my channel or something. That way people know that it is your channel so they can sub to it. Yeah. I'm ready to go. Man, I'm so ready to relax after a fast running day. So I'm pretty excited about this live right now.
I'm pretty excited that August is over and it's supposed to cool down a little bit.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes.
That's cool with censorship. As long as we can keep doing the show, people, if they get taken down, they can get their channel, and share them on the platform. Absolutely. So you can always at least build it back.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can build it back better.
Yeah, there you go. Build back better. Okay, Greta. Where's Greta Elon at, Brian?
She's still in her beauty sleep.
Yeah, I think Australia is getting ready to go into summer, isn't it? Like springtime there. Jeanette?
A couple more months.
All right. Well, we're at 34. If you just want to go ahead and get it started, Chuck, you might as well. I don't know. I haven't seen anybody new pop in, so.
Okay, this is just a little background. I know everybody's familiar with the book of Acts, where the Jews back in the Bible, they stoned Stephen. And that was basically the third strike where God turned from Israel and he removed his protection over them. And then that allowed Rome to come in there and they sacked the temple, destroyed it, all that. And they loaded all of them up on ships and scattered them out to the four corners of the level stationary earth. That's in Deuteronomy. And what that did was that created a vacuum. Like any war, like whenever you go and you like take out a country or whatever, it creates a void. And what happened was the Apostle John that wrote Revelation, he was carried up on the Lord's Day and given a revelation. He saw this and he writes about it in Revelation chapter 2, verse 9 and chapter 3, verse 9, that there would be a group of people that say they are Jews, but are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. And this is one thing that, you got to be careful talking about, as everybody probably knows. But they are the ones that made a deal with the devil. They control all of the banks, all of the shekels, and they took over that region, and they tricked the whole world into believing that God brought them back in 1940, what was it, 47 or something, through the Balfour Declaration. But they got all of the, the like mainstream Christians and everybody believing that these are God's chosen. And these same people, the Khazars, the Khazars, the Ashkenaz, they've destroyed, they went through Russia. I know you guys probably heard about the Bolshevik Revolution, and then they went to Germany, and they're like a band of locusts. They suck it dry and then they move on. But they're over there in that part of the world now. And like I said, John the Revelator, he saw it in the vision and even wrote about them. But yeah, they control all the money. They control Hollywood. They control, like if you look at Brian's picture, I mean, it shows everything that they control. And if you think about it, God's people are going to be hated by the world. They're not going to be the rich in power. So everything's upside down pretty much. Yeah, the Bolsheviks killed all the Christians. And that's another story about the Holocaust, or whatever you want to call it, the numbers, and I'm not buying any of that. You can be arrested for even talking about it over there in Austria and UK, places like that.
This
There you go.
this meme right here was actually a college Rutgers, a Rutgers college professor, whatever, that made this. Yep. And then people went complaining to Congress about it, saying we have to set up, some type of laws. I have a video on it and everything about how, we need to set up something so people get scared and don't want to do types of things like this.
Hey, real quick, Brian. Ron asked the interesting question. He said, "Who are the real Jews?" Since he sees a lot of the fake ones. Well, you have 12 tribes, and I did a little studying into this, and a lot of the so-called the Ands, like the Indians, the Puerto Ricans, the Mexicans, are like the tribes of like Issachar, and I can't remember the tribe's name. I mean, I always draw a blank, but they are different. They're scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, like it says in Deuteronomy. And God says that he would, basically put them in a slumber where they don't know who they are. That's why in Revelation, it's one of the seals where he marks the 144,000 of each tribe. It's like 12,000 of each tribe. He marks them in their forehead because right now they really don't even know who they are. But he hasn't brought them back to the land yet. He does not bring the Jews back in the land until after he sets up his kingdom. I mean, there might be some that start headed back there around that time, but they definitely don't come back in the land until after he comes back.
Hi, Kip.
Yep.
Hello.
How you
up?
doing?
I got choked up. Sorry about that. Hi, guys. Thanks for having me in. I'm doing good. Thank you.
Ooh,
How are you all?
I like your hat.
You like my? Yeah, it's the biggest one I could find.
That's cool. That's a good hat.
Nation, I'm talking about Israel. Yeah, I get the Jews, Judah, the tribe of Judah, but I was just basically, they also call the 12 tribes, they call them Jews too.
It's a tinfoil hat.
That's what I was talking about. That's a big hat.
Yeah, that's a big tinfoil hat.
Yeah, it is.
This is what you were talking about, Chuck.
Yep. That's in the Old Testament too.
So
it says a blindness is taking part, so that they've been blinded, man. Like I said, they don't even know who they are. But see, you got to understand that we're in the dispensation of grace, the body of Christ. There's neither Jew nor Gentile. You get saved through faith in the cross, the finished work. You're not. Israel has been done away with until the time of Jacob's trouble. That's when God goes back to Israel. But right now, there is no Israel. There is no, Gentile. There's neither male nor female. You get saved. We're one in the body of Christ right now. But yeah, and they're waiting until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. And when the fullness of the Gentiles come in, that will end the dispensation of grace, in my opinion, and that's when you're going to see Daniel's 70th week, Jacob's trouble.
Hmm.
But that's pretty much it. That's all the background I wanted to give, just to let everybody know. And then there's a couple videos we're going to play where this guy, he lines it all out. See, what the deal is you got these people, the synagogue of Satan, which a lot of them don't believe, a lot of them have been deceived also. So they're waiting for the Messiah, the Mashiach or Mashiach. When he comes in, we all know that there's going to be a man of sin, the son of perdition is going to come in, and they rejected it. When Christ came in his, in the Father's name, they rejected him. But when this man comes, he's going to come in his own name, and all of them over there are going to accept him. And when the Antichrist sets up, he's going to enforce all of these Noahide laws. And one of the big ones is going to be idolatry. Because if you worship Jesus and don't worship their man that's going to sit in the temple of God claiming to be God, if you don't worship him, then they're going to cut your head off, basically.
Hey, Chuck, have you noticed on some of these pages that are describing like that are pro Noahide laws or whatever you say? Have you noticed that they are pushing a hermaphrodite god, a transgender god?
Yeah, we're going to get to that tonight. It's in there. They believe,
Okay.
yeah, they're. This
That's
guy
crazy.
talks about, he talks about the. Well, we'll get to it a little bit later, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, Kip, and that's true, man. It's wild, and the thing about it is, man, is all these, like all of Hollywood, even that wear their little Kabbalah red bracelets. This is part of the crew of the Jewish that practice Kabbalah. They're gonna become Noahides, and this guy's gonna explain that these are laws for Gentiles. So we have like a separate set of laws for us. Yeah, Mr. E did do a good job on that Noahide stuff.
I didn't get a chance to watch it because, like I said, I've been running all day. But
We can play it if you want.
all right, well, drop the link. Put it in the private chat.
I'll just put it in the main chat because I got my iPad. Is that okay if I do that? Or
Yeah, sure. It's
well, last time I did, it kicked me off.
well, it's okay. We don't need you here all the time. I'm just kidding. I'm just.
The one that I texted you, Michelle, it's amazing, but it's really deep, borderline boring for an audience like this because it's just facts. It's entertaining. Not that we're looking for entertainment, but there is some entertainment value there. But yeah, it's worth watching later, or if you're able to show part of it. He kind of lays it back to Masonry, links it to Ham's sons, to the lineage of Noah. Very clear.
Okay, you're kind of faded in and out. I don't know.
I'm afraid of that. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You'll have to. I just got a new phone, and I kind of work from my phone to the computer and back and forth, and I haven't set everything up, so I'm kind of stuck as far as that. So if you want to drop the link in the chat again, or you can put it in the private chat if you'd like, and I can tab it up.
Yeah, right on. I'm going to work on my connection. I think I've got a connection issue. So if I do drop off, I'll try and get right back on.
Okay.
Yeah, Johnny, I know Zionists, but they're Jewish. Judaism. And when they talk about Torah, they're not talking about just reading the 5 books of the Bible, the Old Testament. They're talking about reading Zohar, Talmud, Kabbalah. There's a couple other names of some weird names, but that's what they're talking about when they talk about, going back to Torah and all that stuff. And the oral, See, they're real big into like the oral laws that these rabbis, and you have to literally go to school and be an expert to know about this stuff. That's why. I mean, that's like what a cult leader does. You know, you got to go through them, and that's what rabbi means. Rabbi means teacher. And Jesus, we know Jesus. He says, "Call no man rabbi," right?
Right. So did you drop the link? Okay, but I got one link in the private chat. Did you drop it, Chuck?
I did. Yeah. Sheila needs a wrench.
I already did.
Okay.
I just got that done.
Do I think the Noahide laws will not be enforced until after the catching away? Yeah, I believe the restrainer has to be taken out of the way. Where it's in, 2 Thessalonians, where it says only he who lets will let it until he be taken out of the way. And it says, and then that man of sin be revealed. I believe the Holy Spirit's restraining that evil to come. And if you go on to read Revelation, the Antichrist is going to make war on the saints of that time, and he's going to wear them out. And I believe that's when the Antichrist is going to be given authority to basically run rampant. He's going to kill so many people. It says if the Lord didn't come back, there will be no flesh left. So it's going to be a bloodbath for the most part, especially when you have all the plagues and the worldwide earthquakes. You got stars falling into the ocean and poisoning 3/4 of the water. You got all the grass and everything burning up. All the islands fleeing away. I mean, it's read Revelation, man. It's like these people, like I said, that believe that we're in the little season. They don't understand that all that stuff in Revelation would destroy this world just about. You know what I mean? I just don't think any of that stuff is happening. Yeah, Johnny, they do. It is separate. The Torah is the 5 books of the Old Testament, the first 5. But Talmud, but they say that go to Torah, but they're talking about reading Talmud and studying Zohar and the oral laws. That's what they're talking about. But I agree with you. The Torah is just the first 5 books of the Old Testament.
So where do you think I should start it from?
Which one is this?
This is Mr. E.
Just start beginning. It's the 20-minute video. This one's good. Or you can, I advertise the show.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Cause
just about a minute. Yeah, it's about a minute. It's not long.
Right there.
Chuck, this is the video. I'm telling you, this is the video that I sent you, Michelle. That is hysterical. No way.
This one is?
Is it?
This is the video I sent you, Michelle. Yes.
From Mr. E?
Yeah, I picked it up off Rumble. Yeah,
I shared it today, man. That's weird.
Didn't know. Well, I have. That's hysterical. Okay, let's go.
Let's go.
Trace it back to what that means for us today. So chapter 1 is the origin and progress of Freemasonry. All right, then he goes on to talk about the...
Not much, about 15 seconds, man.
Basically, I was...
5 o'clock Eastern time today. That's 4 o'clock Pacific. And I will leave all the links in the comments and description. Hope to see you guys there later on.
All right, hey everybody. I'm going to talk today about Freemasonry and the Noahide Code. Basically, I was reading this book here by Albert Mackey, The Symbolism of Freemasonry, written by a 33rd degree Freemason. So I'm going to go through this book, and then I'm going to look at what is a Noahide, and I'm going to trace it back to what that means for us today. So chapter 1 is the origin and progress of Freemasonry. All right, then he goes on to talk about the 2 doctrines of Freemasonry, which are the unity of God and the immortality of the soul. Chapter 2, the Noahide. These are the doctrines which still constitute the creed of Freemasonry, and hence one of the names bestowed upon the Freemasons from the earliest times was that of Noahide, or Noahites. That is to say, the descendants of Noah and the transmitters of his religious dogmas. it doesn't say it came from Noah. It says the descendants of Noah. Let's see who those were. All right, so here's Noah's family tree, right? We got Noah up here on the upper left. Ham had a son, Cush. Cush had a son, Nimrod. Nimrod built the Tower of Babel. And they said to one another, go, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. They had brick for stone and slime they had for mortar. Sounds like masonry, doesn't it? And his other son, Egypt. All right, this is Egypt. And another son, Canaan, the Canaanites. So the lineage of Ham were the enemies of God. But they are technically descendants of Noah. Freemasonry came from the descendants of Noah. So Ham was trying to bring back the pre-flood Nephilim kingdom. And then it says here, all the deities of pagan antiquity, however numerous they may be, can always be reduced to the two different forms of the generative principle, the active or male and the passive or female. Hence the gods were always arranged in pairs, as Jupiter and Juno, Bacchus and Venus, Osiris and Isis. But the ancients went further, believing that the procreative and productive powers of nature might be conceived to exist in the same individual. They made the older of their deities hermaphrodite and used the term the man-virgin to denote the union of the two sexes in the same divine person. What's the unity of God? The male and the female combined into one body. They're hermaphrodite God. Elsewhere, I have very fully alluded to the prevailing sentiment among the ancients that the supreme deity was bisexual or hermaphrodite, including in the essence of his being the male and female principles, the generative and prolific powers of nature. This was the universal doctrine in all the ancient religions. They all taught that God, the creator, was both male and female. In Kabbalah, a hidden meaning is often deduced from a word by transposing or reversing its letters, and it was in this way that the Kabbalists concealed many of their mysteries. Lancy applied this Kabbalistic mode to the Tetragrammaton when he found out that IHOH being read reversely makes the word ho-hi. So basically, he's talking about reading the word backwards may reveal the true name of God. But in Hebrew, ho is the masculine pronoun equivalent to the English he, and hi is the feminine pronoun equivalent to she. And therefore, the word ho-hi, literally translated, is equivalent to the English compound he, she. That is to say, the ineffable name of God in Hebrew, being read Kabbalistically, includes within itself the male and female principle. It's another pregnant proof of the connection between Freemasonry and the ancient mysteries. See right there, he's saying Freemasons believe that the true name of God is he, she, that God is a she-male. They're calling God a lady boy right here, all right? And here perhaps we may begin to find some meaning for the hitherto incomprehensible passage in Genesis. No, it's not incomprehensible. It's very simple. I will explain it. Genesis 1 is a broad overview of the entire week of creation, creating everything. It's not a detailed focus on creating human beings, which we do get in chapter 2. All right, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. All right, you see that? God created him. Singular, masculine pronoun. Who could that be? It could only be Adam. It can only refer to one person, and it's in the masculine form. And this is his, another masculine pronoun. And God is always called the Father, right? Even by Jesus, called the Father all the time. Okay, now there's a semicolon. There's a little pause there, right? Male and female created he. Now, does it say him? Is this a singular pronoun? No, it's not. It's a plural pronoun. Them is talking about more than one person. Well, who could that be? Well, maybe one male and one female, perhaps. Him referring to one person in the masculine, them referring to two people, one male, one female, two people. Now, if this word here said him, we'd be in a lot of trouble, all right? But it says them, right? Male and female created he, them. And this is not the complete story of the creation of Eve.
Like I see some stuff in the chat, like got to understand, God the Father is always like masculine, but obviously before God became flesh, he was like an all-consuming fire, and he was omnipresent, omniscient spirit. You know, God the Father is a spirit, so in the sense of the way we know male and female, God cannot be male or female because he's not in human form yet. But like the spirit is always referred to as being masculine. And we know when God became flesh in John chapter 1, verse 14, the word became flesh. It was born as a male. Jesus was a male. There is no divine feminine. Like I know the Catholics talk a lot about Mary, the mother of God, being like the divine feminine. That's all a bunch of New Age and Jewish type crap.
Hey, Chuck, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was going to interject also. It's important to know that he's reading from Albert Mackey's book. This is not
Yeah,
what he believes. I think
no,
maybe
no,
if
no, no,
someone
no, 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 no. I know. Yeah, no. I was just squaring up in the chat. Yeah.
But yeah, I wonder if someone just came into the chat, if they maybe might have just assumed that this is something that he believes. I mean, just it seemed like maybe, but yeah, just for anyone that just came in, he's reading from a book.
This is a Freemason, the one that believes in all the that like androgynous type stuff. Albert Mackey, he was a really high level Mason. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right, go ahead, Michelle.
That's a good point. Thank you, Kip, for that, because people, just like you said, just coming in, I think that's good to point out. If you guys feel that you need to interject and say something, please, by all means, do. I'll stop it every time.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
Hi, on the level. Good to see you. Welcome.
We
That's
get
funny,
that in
Kip,
chapter
you
2.
shared
God
this
did
to
not create Eve in his own.
What?
I was just saying that's crazy that Kip sent this video to you and didn't even
Yeah.
realize that I had shared it.
Yeah, I was stressing out. I was trying to record a few segments and highlights of it to upload it, so we were able to show it in this show. And honest to God's truth, I mean, I'd tell you, but I had not seen your video yet, Chuck. So that's just hysterical. Yeah, good stuff, man. That's good stuff.
It is. Yeah.
His own image. God created Eve out of the raw materials of Adam. Created Adam is in his own image. He created Eve, but it's just not in his own image. The all-seeing eye is another and a still more important symbol of the same great being. The symbol of universal nature among the Egyptians was the right-angled triangle, of which the perpendicular side represented Osiris, or the male principle, the base Isis, or the female principle, and the hypotenuse, their offspring Horus, or the world emanating from the union of both principles. So Horus is a tranny, all right? The eye of Horus is the symbol of the androgyne, which the Masonic institution assumed at the building of King Solomon's temple in consequence of the union at that era of the pure Freemasonry of the Noahide. Okay, now there's these people here, the Noahides, right? From previous videos, we saw this represents the male and female combined into the androgynous god and the androgynous human. So they have 7 laws, all right? Now, this is not Torah. This is what they call the Noahide 7 laws that were given to Noah orally. Now, there was a covenant of the rainbow given to Noah, but this is not it. They've changed it. Included in this are the details of God's directive for all Gentiles to observe their 7 Noahide commandments. It all begins with recognizing the perfect unity of the Creator. There we go. Unity, right? What does unity mean? Male and female combined. Modern Noahidism. 7 commandments, 7 laws only, and remaining commandments do not apply to them. This means that Noahides may not observe Sabbath, study Torah, except for the 7 laws, which are not part of Torah, all right? And the rainbow is the modern symbol of Noahidism, all right? This is their symbol. We've seen that before, haven't we? We know who uses this symbol nowadays, right? Noahide website. Now, here's an article on gay marriage, but within this, now they say that they're anti-gay marriage, although, with their rainbow flag and all, I kind of doubt that. But within this article here, it says, in the first marriage ever, Adam and Eve were initially created as a single two-faced body. The single being was split in two, a man and a woman, and then reunited in matrimony. In the world of souls, the partition and reunification of the male and female components of individual souls occurs continually. Celebrating diversity was conceived as an opportunity to unite the world by re-echoing the belief in one God as the creator of all human beings and the belief that we're all created in the divine image. What's the divine image? The male and female hermaphrodite God. This is the true meaning of harnessing diversity among different cultures. This is a foundation for our organization's goal, which to work alongside the United Nations and other partner organizations with hopes of promoting human rights and development and protecting freedom of religion. Well, their religion, 7 universal laws of Noah are means by which humanity strives to live in unity and peace. The laws of Noah, or the Noahide laws, are comprised of 7 universal laws, biblical binding upon all humanity. In 1991, a joint resolution of the United States Congress called its principles the bedrock of society from the dawn of civilization, without which the edifice of civilization stands in serious peril of returning to chaos. What is a Noahide? Definition: a Freemason who has taken the 21st degree of the Scottish Rite. 2. Freemason. Albert Mackey says Freemasons come from the Noahides. So basically, the Congress said that Freemasonry is the bedrock of civilization. Okay, now this is from the IsraelNationalNews.com. The Noahide Laws, a universal code for peace and unity. Says here, all descendants of Noah, which means all of humanity, are required to follow these laws. Gentiles who actively follow the 7 laws of Noah are called B'nai Noach, or Noahides. Sometimes they are referred to as righteous Gentiles or the pious among the nations. The Noahide laws were given to Moses and also preserved by the sages of the Talmud. All right, now here's the Jewish Institute for Global Awareness. Government leaders encourage adherence to the 7 Noahide laws. The universality of these principles and global import was recognized in 1982 by President Ronald Reagan, when he spoke of the eternal validity of these 7 Noahide laws as a moral code for all of us, regardless of religious faith. Proclamation on the National Day of Reflection, April 4th, 1982. 7 years later, in 1989, H.W. not only proclaimed that these biblical values, they're not biblical, all right? Freemasonic values are the foundation for civilized society. A society that fails to recognize or adhere to them cannot endure. And you think these people are clever, right? Because we're all descendants of Noah. So they're saying that the entire world has to follow the laws given to Noah, since we're all descendants of Noah, right? So legally, we're all bound to this law. Both the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States Congress in 1991, on a bipartisan basis, further recognized how this historical tradition of ethical values and principles of Freemasonry, upon which our great nation was founded. All right, there it is right there. United States Congress admitted that the United States was founded on the principles of Freemasonry. All right. Have been the bedrock of society from the dawn of civilization, when they were known as the 7 Noahide laws. The American Congress understood how the most recent weakening of these principles has resulted in crisis that beleaguer and threaten the fabric of civilized society. Thus, they warned us that without these ethical values and principles, the edifice of civilization, oh, like the Tower of Babel? Yeah, that was a pretty good one, huh? Stands in serious peril. How about the pre-flood Nephilim kingdom, huh? That turned out pretty well for you guys, didn't it? Yeah. Serious peril of returning to chaos. Other world leaders have joined the call for further observance of knowledge of Freemasonry. For example, Herman Van Rompuy, president of the European Union, wrote in July 2014 that he seeks greater dissemination of the universal values known as Freemasonry. And Major General Michael Jeffrey, Governor General of Australia, lamenting family breakdowns and drug and alcohol abuse in modern society in 2008 letter, wrote that he believed that observing the fundamental values of the Noahide laws can be an antidote to such ills of society.
Hey, pause.
You got to drop.
Is that the bug-eating lady? Right?
Look, I think that's Nicole Kidman. I think
Yeah,
you're right.
that's Mrs. Bug herself. All right, good.
That's
Just
good
making
call.
sure.
Sorry, I was muted, but I said yes right away.
Drug problem? Freemasonry. Here's your new big book, Prohibition of Idolatry. Well, you might say, well, that sounds just like the Bible. Well, it kind of does sound like the Bible, right? The problem is that the Jews believe Jesus, Yeshua HaMashiach, is an idol. They're going to call that idolatry. And idolatry is punishable by death. All breaking any of these laws is the death penalty. This is the New World Order religion right here. 7, create a fair and righteous judicial system to enforce the other 6 laws and all other laws consistent with them. Idolatry, worshiping false gods. The Hebrew term for idolatry, whatever, means strange worship, in the sense of being outside the boundaries of that which is permitted by denying pure monotheism. The worship of anything other than God constitutes an act of idolatry. This includes deifying any object other than God, including a deification of the human being, right? But they're going to include Jesus in this, right? President Bush Roadmap to World Peace, press release. President George Bush confers with Noahide.org to discuss the importance of 7 universal Noahide laws. Among the religious leaders was Rabbi Dr. Yaakov Cohen from Melbourne, Australia, who represented the Worldwide Institute of Noahide Code, an organization dedicated to promote the Noahide Code of 7 universal laws. Rabbi Cohen presented the roadmap to world peace, explaining that the Noahide laws can unite all of mankind. When humanity is unified, when humanity becomes androgynous, hermaphrodite, by its highest common denominator, genuine peace and harmony will flourish throughout the world. Okay, now this is George Bush, George H.W. Bush, writing in 1989. The principles of moral and ethical conduct that have formed the basis for all civilizations come to us in part from the centuries-old 7 Noahide laws, otherwise known as Freemasonry. They basically passed some kind of resolution to designate these 2 days as Education Day USA. They also, in doing that, they officially pronounced Freemasonry as the foundation of the universal law for humanity. That's official law in the United States is Freemasonry. That's kind of covertly what they did. And now there's all kinds of, conspiracy websites and stuff. So you got Talmudic law has infiltrated America. The judicial system is a criminal conspiracy. All non-Jews beware. They're going to use this to bring back the guillotine. Part of the laws of the Noahides are, if you break the 7 laws, death by beheading with a guillotine. Moses, our teacher, was commanded by the Almighty to compel the world to accept the commandments of the sons of Noah. Anyone who fails to accept them is executed. Whereas the justified preoccupation with these crises must not let the citizens of this nation lose sight of their responsibility to transmit these historical, ethical values from our distinguished past to the generations of the future. So 1991, the year in which we turn to education and charity to return the world to the moral and ethical values contained in the 7 Noahide laws. Freemasonry. And this will be reflected in an international scroll of honor signed by the President of the United States and other heads of state. And think about 1991, right? This is the year H.W. was giving those New World Order speeches, all right? Let's listen to what he has to say.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea.
Big idea.
A new world order where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind: peace and security, freedom, and the rule of law. Such is a world worthy of our struggle and worthy of our children's future.
The law. He was talking about exactly what it says here, returning the world to the law of the Noahides, making Freemasonry the law of the entire world. The alchemist's great work. In alchemy, the great work is producing the perfect androgyne, or mankind restored to wholeness. I'm going to start beheading people who have the witness of Jesus and the word of God. Because everyone else is going to become a tranny.
God's gonna set this world on fire. God's gonna set this world on fire. God's gonna set this world on fire. Devil's gonna burn as the flames get higher. God's gonna set this world on fire. One of these days. I don't wanna burn in a lake of fire. I don't wanna burn in a lake of fire. I don't wanna burn in a lake of fire. The devil's gonna burn as the flames get higher. I don't wanna burn in a lake of fire. One of these days. One of these days. God's gonna set this world on fire. God's gonna set this world on fire. God's gonna set this world on fire. Devil's gonna burn as the flames get higher. God's gonna set this world on fire. One of these days.
Actually, Odyssey, Kip.
Oh, right on. I thought you said BitChute. I thought I saw that in the comments.
Actually, man, this is an older video. Actually, I think I got one of my channels taken down for sharing this video. For real. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, no
thanks.
surprise.
It's a live stream. It'll be all right.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. I'm just kidding. I don't care.
Hey,
You know?
if you guys search Kip, you need to find his the gay manifesto he did. I definitely lost the channel for sharing that. He did a really good video on the homosexual manifesto. It's their own words. It's a book they did.
Right on. I'll check it out, man. I appreciate that. No, that's a good video, though.
Yeah, but if anybody's interested, go to BitChute and look up Mr. E Watchman. Search that and you'll find him. He puts out videos regularly. But recently I listened to something, man. His doctrine is a little out there. So, but you know, you take the good in anybody.
Yeah, that's where you put the disclaimer out there. I don't
There you
necessarily
go.
support
Yeah.
it. You know, take what you want and throw away the
Yeah.
rest.
His stuff on the transpocalypse and his stuff on the Noahide is great. I mean, he does a great job on that stuff.
Well, so did you want to show? So with new people popping in, do you want to explain a little bit again? You know what we're going over. Just kind of a brief description.
Just the Noahide laws, how they talk about their 7 universal laws, and they put it out to sound really good. Why don't you start the first video and just start it from the beginning, and he gives a background of what they're going to do. And
Sure.
you got to remember, this guy that we're going to play, he is one of the SOS. He's not a Christian. He hates Christianity, but he's very, very smart. This guy knows what he's doing, and he's very intelligent. But if you just listen to it, a lot of the stuff he doesn't say is what, you know, and he cherry picks a lot of scriptures, but he does break it down really good, what the Noahide laws are and who they're for and what's going to happen. Kip, you gonna eat the bugs?
Yeah, that's for Brian for a good call on Nicole Kidman.
So,
I tried to say something, man, but I was muted.
So this is 55 minutes long. So
just play like 10 minutes. We can talk about it a little bit and then start the second one and just kind of
Okay.
And then you can also go to like the 36-minute mark and finish it out from there. But we can just skip around it a little bit.
I want to talk about a topic that is of very, very high significance and importance, the Noahide laws, which is something that probably most people have heard of. There's a growing Noahide movement, and yet we don't know much about it. Like, where do the Noahide laws come from? What are they for? Who are they for? You're familiar with the mitzvot bnei Noach? So it's basically the laws that are meant for the Gentile world, right? The Torah has a set of laws for the Jewish world, but the Torah is for everybody. And the Torah also has a set of laws for the non-Jewish world, and they are called the Noahide laws. And typically we think there are 7 of them.
Hey, pause.
But in fact, there are actually...
Yeah, Monica mentioned if you want to speed it up to 1.25, and you can still hear what he's saying good, if you want to try that. And then it doesn't matter to me though. Either way.
We will try it.
Do 1.21 gigawatts.
What? 1.
Many more. So we want to uncover all the Noahide laws because it's not just 7.
So there you go.
Why do you say 7? That's what we're going to answer. Why do we say 7 if it's not actually 7? So that's one of the questions that we want to answer. And why is it so important for us to discuss, especially now with what's going on in the world and the time period, the era that we are in? And the reason why it's so important for us to discuss now is because it was prophesied a long time ago in the Tanakh, thousands of years ago, that in the end of days, the whole...
And before anybody that's this intelligent and this high up, and they're still showing the image of the ball, the Baal image of the globe, they're in on it. You know what I mean? This guy knows that we're not on a spinning ball. They all put it in. All these guys, all these deceivers will have the globe. They have the globe inserted in there somewhere.
That's like a HP computer, someone was saying, as above, so below. Or, you know, I mean, whatever. If you can see it on there. Arrow up, arrow down. But anyway.
Whole world will seek to know God's law. So Zechariah, for instance, says, Ko amar Hashem tzvaot bayamim ha'ema, in those days, in the days to come, asher yachziku 10 anashim mikol lashonot hagoyim, that 10 people from all the nations will come v'yachziku biknaf ish Yehudi, and will hold on to the corners, or to the tzitzit, or to the corners of the clothes of every Jew. Le'emor nelcha imachem ki shamanu Elohim imachem. We're going to have to spread Torah knowledge to the world, because the world will be hungry for it. Later on, Zechariah says that in those days, that God will finally be recognized, Hashem will finally be recognized as the one God all over the world. Hey, one more
time. See, this is where he takes the stuff out of context. This is after Christ. When Christ comes back and sets up his kingdom, the whole world is going to seek to know him. It's not before then. You know, and he's also, when he writes his laws in his people's hearts, that's when the 12 tribes of Israel are ruling and reigning. That's after Christ sets up his kingdom. See, these Jews want to act like, you know, they're God's chosen and they're the ones that are going to set all this stuff up. And that's not the way it happens.
Everybody will recognize that there's one God with one name, the name of God, Yud He Vav He, the ineffable name, the Tetragrammaton. So the whole world will recognize the one true God. And all the peoples of all the nations that are left in the world, that every year, all the nations of the world will come to Jerusalem, not just do they want to come and learn Torah, but they even want to come and celebrate with us, and they're going to celebrate Sukkot with us. And Zechariah actually says that the nations will be expected to come and celebrate Sukkot with us together in Jerusalem. So a day is coming that we'll even celebrate some holidays together. And similarly, Yeshayahu says, Isaiah 11, very famous prophecy of Mashiach, we read it on Pesach. It starts chapter 11 by describing Mashiach, and then it says that in those days there will no longer be any violence, any evil in God's holy mountain, because the whole world will be filled with knowledge of God, just like waters fill the oceans. A day will come when knowledge of God will fill the world. Torah will fill the whole world. So that's the world we are heading. That's the world we're in now, because we all understand that we're in this final sequence of the end of days, and we'll come back to more of these prophecies later. But the point is that and when
he says Torah will fill the whole world, it's not the first 5 books of the Old Testament. He's talking about the oral traditions of their rabbis. He's talking about the Talmud, all that stuff. That's what he's talking about. And the whole mystic New Age garbage is what they practice. Go ahead.
In our days, in this pre-Messianic age, it's actually our mission to spread this knowledge, this divine knowledge, to the whole world. And indeed, we see that all over the world, there is this thirst for Torah knowledge. There is this growing Noahide movement. There are many Christians who are coming back and want to learn the real Torah, and even Muslims. And I get emails almost daily from everybody, from Noahides, from Christians, from Muslims, from Hindus, from everybody that you can imagine from all over the world.
He said many Christians are wanting to learn the real Torah. See, that's stuff he's not saying. We know the real Torah. See, he's talking about, and he's not talking about the Bible. He's talking about their oral nonsense that they write down.
Amos 8:11 talking about the famine that's going to hit. He ain't ever talking about when that happened. He just says everybody knows everything already, but they know it all. We don't know nothing, you know.
Yeah.
When he does reference to Christians in their Bible, he seems very annoyed, like he can't put his words together. He seems like he has to add a little bit of sarcasm to it. So I just picked those things up in him. Not genuine. Yes, he may be educated and, you know, whatever with his words, but he also talks with a lot of nervousness in his voice. I hear it. He's trying to get so much out. He's nervous. He don't even know how to get it out. That's why he just rambles and rambles and rambles. But he is very educated. Don't get me wrong.
If you look through this guy's channel, man, he's got a lot of information. And, I mean, he is definitely in the club. No doubt about it.
World,
Go ahead, Michelle.
there is a thirst to understand God and the Torah and God's law and the role of all the Gentiles in this whole story. So that's why it's important for us to learn. And it's important for us as well because you have to know what to say to these people, right? If you have a coworker who's a Gentile or a Noahide and he asks you a question, then you have to know what to answer. And what are the Noahide laws? If somebody asks you, what are the Noahide laws? Are you able to cite them and explain them? You know, if somebody asks you, a lot of questions came up recently, which I want to get to. Can a Noahide put on a mezuzah? Or can a Gentile have a mezuzah on their door? Some people post October 7th, some very righteous Gentiles have been asking, you know, we want to support the Jewish people. We want to support Israel. Some Jews are scared and they're taking down their mezuzot from their doors because they're afraid to be identified as Jews. So we want to support you and we want to help. So can we put a mezuzah on our door? That came up. You know, all kinds of questions like that are coming up. Can somebody join a Pesach Seder or a Hanukkah candle lighting? All these questions, we have to know how to answer them. And it's specifically our obligation in this generation to learn this and to be able to answer those questions. The Torah is the word of God. It's our divine manual for living, for Jews and for non-Jews. So what does it say for the non-Jewish world? How many mitzvot do we have for the Jewish world? 613 Tariag mitzvot. And for the non-Jewish world, there are presumably 7 laws. So altogether, how many do you have? 620. And where are they alluded to? 620? This is probably a question in your book, right? Where are the 620? Right. So in Exodus chapter 20, in the Torah's account of the 10 Commandments, in the 10 Commandments, the first divine kind of revelation, national revelation of divine law at Mount Sinai, if you look at the 10 Commandments and you count the number of letters in that passage from the beginning to the end, Exodus chapter 20, there are exactly 620 letters. Why are there 620 letters? The Baal HaTurim says, Yesh ba'im tarach otiyot, there are 620 letters, neged tariag mitzvot, corresponding to the 613 mitzvot for the Jewish people, v'sheva mitzvot bnei Noach, and for the 7 Noahide laws. So the 10 Commandments actually encapsulate all 620 laws in the Torah. We know that the 10 Commandments were actually just more like general categories of law. They're not even called 10 Commandments. They're called Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 statements. They're more like 10 categories, and all the other, the 620 laws really fit under those 10 categories. So you have 620 altogether, 620 letters, 620 laws for both Jews and Gentiles together. And the Baal HaTurim continues and says that Simanam Keter Torah, that if you do the gematria or the sign for it, 620 is Keter. Keter literally means a crown. The gematria of Keter is 620, right? Kaf is 20, Taf is 400, Reish is 200, 620. So Keter is like God's crown. If you remember in the array of Sfirot, the 10 Sfirot, the highest Sfirah, the first one is called Keter. It's called the will of God, is the crown of God. Keter is 620. So it's already embedded in the very will of God at the very beginning in the first Sfirah that there's 620 mitzvot for all mankind, Jews and non-Jews together. And more than that, Kabbalistically, the Arizal
Well, he just said kabbalistic. I can't even say what he said. Just like you said, this looks like the
Kabbalistic. Yeah,
tree.
Kabbalistic. Yeah.
It's a tree.
So, a while back, Brian alluded to something a few weeks ago as far as considering that possibly these gematria apps that they're using are all compromised. And I think that's probably true, but nonetheless, it's still interesting that even if they are compromised, when you put these numbers in, that you still come up with these descriptions. It's almost like it makes it believable that it would be an easy form of a secret communication, maybe even.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's not only they can trick the sheep, but they can trick the truthers. They can trick us. It's a psyop within a psyop within a psyop. It's real. They're very smart. They don't let out what they don't want out, and I don't know. It's very hard to explain, but
if they have nothing to hide that's nefarious, why do they need these secret modes of recognition to let each other know secretly that they're in this club? That's the question we've got to ask.
Chuck, you should have an answer for that one.
Oh, go ahead, Brian.
Well, I'd say it's all just a mock within reason, too. You know what I mean? It's known that this stuff is out there. It ain't no hidden thing. Anybody that's looked through the truth stuff has come across Zachary K. Hubbard and his version of it all. You know what I mean? I think there's a deceptive version of it. Then there's a version where, people ain't using it to deceive, but it's the things, how it connects all together. These things connect numerically. It has nothing to do with words themselves. You know what I mean? The words themselves, the letters make the numbers come together, and you
Right.
can't deny any of that stuff. Now,
Right.
what I was saying as far as compromising, things like that go, I did a video, and what I had said is that the one thing that I had searched, what was that, compared to whatever, all that stuff, but the one thing I searched was no longer visible. But what happened is the search results got populated with words that had been looked for 300 or 400 or 500 times, and that word was only looked for 200 times. So it kind of fell down in the list. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter that it wasn't there because it wasn't on the screen for you to go down through, but it's still there deeper down if there was a longer list. You know what I mean? It's just a lot lower down on the totem pole. So what I think is that whoever can make everybody get together, like quick little, I don't know. They used to do these things with thumbs down things, like everybody go thumbs down this video. And that's why they shut down the thumbs down stuff years ago, because you would see the news with all thumbs downs and no thumbs ups. You know what I mean? And they couldn't have that anymore. But anyway, truth bombs, if you want to call it, stuff like that. And they could go onto this search engine and just put in a new word like fart knocker when people want to use those words in the middle of us actually trying to use it to show people used to deceive. You see what I'm
Why'd
saying?
you use that word, Brian?
Yeah, well, someone comes up with a word like that. There's always a word that you can throw in there to make the numbers equal out. Maybe you got to change a letter or something like that, or whatever. But it's the fact that the things that the powers to be, Hollywood, and all those things connect together up there. I'm not connecting Chuck to Kip to Michelle to me to Skiff to Johnny to whoever. No, it has nothing to do with us nobodies. It has everything to do with those that live in the limelight, and they do it for it gives them power and control. It gives them a feeling of, we're superior. We got some secret language. Maybe, I don't know. You know what I mean? But
and the question I kind of asked tongue in cheek, and that's awesome. I mean, it's like, but seriously, why is it necessary? I mean, if it's such a good organization and they've got nothing to hide, why wouldn't they just want to? Why wouldn't you just want people to know who you are, and to promote that? I don't know. It just always seemed, to kind of be a red mark on them just for that fact alone, that they've got these secret signs, and they admit to the fact that they have these secret ways of recognizing each other. They'll admit that, but they won't say what.
But most people are asleep, so it's their way to communicate to each other that they, did another psyop or whatever. They can't let too much out, because if we all wake up, then they're screwed. So
There's Good
There's
point.
a proven method, because even their own initiates, they make them climb all the way up to the 33rd degree before they reveal to them that the light they're searching for is the light of Lucifer. You know, they don't tell the lower degrees that. So obviously there's a reason they do that.
Yeah, it's all secret. That's what it is, all the way down and up, you know. Just like Ham stole the garments from Noah, and then the curse was put upon, you know, Canaan, Cush, all that stuff. That stuff in the book of Jasher says it was all stolen, hidden in secret, passed down from son to son.
Yep, it's all
Knowledge
secret.
like that, or the skins, whatever. Sorry, gave into Nimrod in the end is where it ended. Last I could see where the
Isn't that interesting that they don't want us to know that? Because Nimrod became a mighty hunter when he put those skins on.
and people always wonder, like, what did Noah or what did Ham do to Noah that he was cursed? Like, what happened? You know what I mean? Like, and there's just nothing. No, it says something about how his son seen that he was naked and put garments back on him, but it
He
doesn't say that.
uncovered his father's skirt. I think that also means he slept with his father's wife.
Oh,
I've
either
heard that.
way,
I've
you
heard
know
a
what I
couple
mean.
different
The
things.
book
Yeah,
of Jasher says that the skins were stolen and handed down.
yeah,
in
they
secret,
were.
you know.
Yep. Michelle, if you want, we can go ahead and start part 2. He kind of recaps and he gets more into you know, I guess the nitty gritty in the part 2, because it is a long video. But people, you guys can, if you want me to share the link, which I have it in a video I shared the other day, you can go back and watch these. He's actually supposed to be coming out with a part 3 where he goes through all the 30 Noahide laws individually, because there's not just 7, there's 30 of them. Yep.
I was just trying to get that together. Hold on.
I've never read that Ham slept with his father's wife. You know, I do know that the scripture says that a generation where a son can think he can have his father's wife, you know what I mean, or his mother and stuff like that. That's somewhere in the scripture. But
It's in one of those books. I can't remember. Well, which one is it? Flat for Life. Where it talks about when you uncover your father's skirt. That's what they talk about. That was what that
main
means.
thing is, though, is that the skins were stolen and handed down from generation
Yeah.
to generation in secret. That's the secret knowledge. That's things that are in secret to Nimrod.
Yeah.
Still celebrated to this day at Christmas.
Okay. So this one's like an hour and 11 minutes long, so we can skip through it or whatever. But
Yeah.
you guys, like I said, speak out, and I'll stop it.
Yeah, he
The
kind of
Noahide
recapped it.
laws. There's this idea that there are only 7 Noahide laws, and then we extrapolated 30 Noahide laws, and we saw where the original 7 come from. They were actually first given to Adam, and then they were reiterated to Noah after the flood. And we saw exactly the verses where the 7 Noahide laws come from. And there's a few things I want to clarify that came up since I posted part 1, many of the same questions that I received. So one is that it's important to remember that when the Kuzari or the Talmud shows us the sources in the Torah for the 7 Noahide laws, and it seems like they're derived from those verses. So some people are commenting like, oh, did the rabbis just make it up from those verses, you know, by interpretation? But that's not actually what the point was. The 7 Noahide laws always existed, going back to Adam. God gave them to Adam and then again to Noah. And what the rabbis did in the Talmud and then in the Kuzari and in other sources is just show where it is found in the Torah, like how we can extrapolate it from the Torah. So it's not that they invented it based on playing word games with Torah verses.
Listen to what he's not saying. They don't get any of this stuff out of the Bible. It's all of their oral traditions. It's all out of the Kuzari or whatever that book is called and the Talmud, but they don't, none of this stuff is in the Bible. Okay, go ahead.
It's that these laws always existed since the beginning. And the rabbis were just pointing out where exactly they come from. And there was also some doubting, like, oh, this is just something that the Talmud made up, right? This is not a genuine thing in the Torah. And what's funny is a lot of those comments actually came from Christians or maybe ex-Christians who are doubting this whole thing. And what's ironic is that actually one of the earliest sources that we have just proving the Noahide laws is actually the Christian Bible. So I want to quote this, not that we need the Christian Bible to support our position, but just as to look at it from a historical perspective, to use this as just simply as a historical source, just to prove that 2,000 years ago in Judea, in Israel, the Noahide laws were already very well known. How do we know? Because there's a passage in the book of Acts, which is in the Christian Bible, where Paul and the other early Christian leaders are deliberating how much of Torah law should Gentiles keep. Meaning those early Christians, those first Gentile Christians, they were asking Paul, what exactly are we supposed to keep? How much of the Torah should we observe? Do we have to keep all the Torah 613 commandments, or what do we have to keep? And this is the answer that Paul gives them. It's in the book of Acts, chapter 15. I quote, "We should not make it difficult for the Gentiles who are turning to God. Instead, we should write to them, telling them to abstain from food polluted by idols, from sexual immorality, from the meat of strangled animals, and from blood. For the law of Moses has been preached in every city from the earliest times and is read in the synagogues on every Sabbath."
See, he cherry picks, and he's taking this out of context. Paul later on talks about idols. He said, for an idol is nothing. An idol can't speak. It can't, hear. It can't do anything. So you can eat whatever you want. It doesn't matter if it's sacrificed to an idol. The only time Paul tells you not to eat meat sacrificed to an idol is if you're like with a weaker brother, that it would cause them to stumble. But this guy, man, he does that. He'll pick and choose verses from Paul when obviously he hates the Christian Bible. He hates the New Testament. But anyway, go ahead, Michelle.
"It seems good to the Holy Spirit and to us not to burden you with anything beyond the following requirements. You are to abstain from food sacrificed to idols, from blood, from the meat of strangled animals, and from sexual immorality. You will do well to avoid all these things." End quote. So it's actually quite clear what Paul is saying is, hey, remember those 7 Noahide laws? The first one is Birkat Hashem, not to curse God. He didn't have to mention that because he's addressing the faithful. So he doesn't have to tell them you should believe in God. That's obvious. Murder, theft, and civil law. He doesn't have to mention that because that's anyways part of Roman law. So everybody's already has that separately. So what's left? You're left with idolatry. You're left with Gilui Arayot, sexual immorality. You're left with the Ever Minachai, the strangled animal, the limb of a live animal. And we also saw how the Talmud says also the blood of a live animal, right? So you have all the actual remaining Noahide laws right here. And Paul is just telling them, hey, all you have to do is actually observe the Noahide laws. So already 2,000 years ago, and he's saying that this is something well known. He's saying this is the law of Moses preached in every city from the earliest times. This is a well-known idea that there are Noahide laws. And if Gentiles are asking, what should we keep? This is what you should keep. You should avoid idolatry. You should avoid sexual immorality. You should avoid the limb of a live animal, right? The blood of an animal. All those things that we said in the Noahide laws. And he didn't have to mention murder, theft, and civil law, and Birkat Hashem and knowing God, because they would have already had that regardless.
More like 1,700 years ago. 1600.
Well, I'm not assuming. Paul lived in the 1st century. So this would have been written later, sure. But I'm just saying that Paul himself would have lived in the 1st century. No, so he doesn't, the term Noahide laws doesn't appear here, but it's obvious what he's saying, right? Because he's only listing these things directly from the Noahide law.
No, I was saying he said it's obvious. It's not obvious. Go ahead.
Laws and saying this is what the Gentile Christians should keep. So that was just for all the critics out there Not that we need the Christian Bible to prove our point, but it's there. And finally, there's one last misconception to clarify, is that some people are saying that Judaism is an exclusive club just for Jews, and that Noahidism is what we kind of preach to the Gentiles. But that's, of course, not the case, because anybody could become a Jew if they want. Judaism is not an exclusive club. Anybody who wants to join Israel, the people of Israel, could convert and take on all the laws and fulfill all the commandments if they so choose.
Hey, wait,
But that's
pause it.
much more.
Isn't there
Rewind
still?
it. Hey, well, hold on. 10 seconds. What he says that it's exclusive, but you can become a Jew if you want to keep all 613 laws. Like these guys can do that. You know, Jesus proved that no one can keep that law. But see, he's making it sound like to these Gentiles, well, if I got to do all this, then I'm not going to do it. So then it is an exclusive club, because these hypocrites, these Pharisee type people are saying that if you do it, you have to observe and keep all 613 laws. But did you guys catch that? Rewind it like 10 seconds and start it back.
Well, they desire you to be circumcised so that they can glory in your flesh, because they don't keep the law themselves. That's what it is.
Right. Yep.
Because that's where you're supposed to stay. Wherever you were called, you were stay. If you were in the circumcision, you stay. If you were uncircumcised, you stay there too. You don't become one or the other.
Isn't there also a difference between someone born Jewish and someone that converts to Judaism?
Well, that's what I was referring to, is what the scripture in my mind is pointing is that when your calling happens, it's like if you're under the law and that's what you're brought up as, that's where you're at. That's your calling. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then if you're not and you weren't brought up under that lifestyle, then that's not you. And you don't flip from one to the other, because, yes, just like Chuck said, Jesus proved to us that we can't flip back to the Old Testament and maintain that. You know, that's the veil that lies on their hearts, the reading of the Old Testament, and it's only done away in Christ.
The schoolmaster. Yeah. Go ahead, Michelle.
To join Israel, the people of Israel could convert and take on all the laws and fulfill all the commandments if they so choose. But that's much more difficult, to take on all those obligations and restrictions and responsibilities, not to mention all the extras that come with it, with the anti-Semitism and the hatred that's going to come up. That's actually the first question that you tell a prospective convert, the Talmud says. If somebody wants to convert to Judaism, you tell them, are you serious? Like, you see how people hate Jews and hate Israel? You want to be a part of us? You sure? So if you don't want to take on everything, then Noahidism is like the middle ground, where you can still be connected to God, you can still be connected to God's law, you could still fulfill the Torah, you could still do all these other things and still be considered righteous and earn a place in the world to come and be a righteous, God-fearing, good person and be in God's good graces. So that's the point. The point is that we're not saying that everybody should be, that you can only be a Noahide, that a Gentile could only be a Noahide. A Gentile is welcome to join the people of Israel fully. But if they don't want to, then there is still a path without becoming Jewish, which is the Noahide path. I wanted to clarify that as well. So last time we started with
See the arrogance of this guy. He's saying that us Jews can keep all 600 laws.
That's
what he's saying. Yeah.
Well, not necessarily that, but the way he references the Christians is like, not that we need the Christian Bible, but we're just going to use it for reference here. That's how he talks about us all the time, just like, and he's been trained in his mind that we're goyim. That's how he feels.
This guy is so arrogant, though, man. Like, nobody can keep those laws. The only reason God gave the law was to prove that we can't keep it. You know what I mean? So that's insane.
The 7 Noahide laws, but then as we look through the pages of the Talmud and Sanhedrin, we saw that we actually derived 27 laws from Sanhedrin. And then we jump to Masechet Chulin, a different tractate, and there it says, hey, there are 30 Noahide laws. Wait, what? But then till now we keep saying everywhere 7 Noahide laws, but then in Masechet Chulin it says, no, but there are 30 Noahide laws, and then it lists 3 more of them, which were not found in Sanhedrin. So with the additional 3, we actually had a nice list of 30. Now, the problem is that We then looked at a list from one of the Geonim, from Shmuel Gaon, which was about 500 years later. And he has a list of 30, but they're different. They're not exactly the same. There is significant overlap, but there are some differences with the list that we derived from the Talmud. And then 500 years later, there was another list given by the Rama Mifano, Rabbi Menachem Azaria Difano, who was a disciple of the Arizal, an indirect disciple of the Arizal. And he gives another list of 30. And again, there is significant overlap, but there are some differences. So we essentially had 3 different lists of 30 Noahide laws. And where we left off last time is, can we make one definitive list? Can we fuse them together and make one? As we do that, as we go through all of them and see how we can put them together, we also want to answer a whole bunch of interesting questions, which we didn't get to last time. Can a Noahide have a mezuzah on their door? Can a Gentile put a mezuzah on their door? Can a Noahide pray? Can they pray from a Siddur? Can they keep Shabbat? That came up last time. We saw that it seems to be prohibited, certainly for an idolater, not clear for a Noahide. Can they keep Shabbat? Can they join a Pesach Seder? Can they build a Sukkah? Can they celebrate Sukkot? Can they go into a Sukkah? Can they learn what?
Look at some of these. You got striking a Jew. And one of them was they changed, but like learning Torah, Shabbat. I mean, look at all these laws. They just keep changing them around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, blasphemy, adultery, sexual immorality, murder, theft.
Reproduction.
Back it up, like, can you back it up like 10 or 15 seconds? They were different. They just changed. Oh, there it is. It's like they changed the number. Honoring Torah. What does that mean? They're making these laws up for us. Like what our Torah study. I mean, is that studying their Zohar or their Talmud? You know, I mean, these are laws that they're making up. Like who made them God? You know what I mean? Who gives them the authority to tell anybody anything?
Right.
It's ridiculous. It's crazy. All right, yeah, cannibalism. These people are probably cannibals. Yeah, they're the same. They just switch order.
Yeah.
Recognizing God's oneness. You know what that means, don't you? That means that Jesus is not God. That's number 3.
Yeah.
And that would be idolatry and blasphemy. So you're going to be guilty of breaking the first 3 laws if you try to worship Jesus.
Wow. Prayer.
Yeah.
Number 4.
Then there's people running around talking about oneness all the time. Oneness is not in the doctrine. I don't believe it's Godhead. You know what I mean? That's what it is. It's not oneness.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken. You know, these 3 agree
Well,
in
the
one.
the New Agers push oneness, that we're all God. You know what I mean?
I just noticed that word though. That word sticks out because that's not from what I remember reading in the scripture. It's not oneness. So that's all I'm saying. Certain things that people say. That's what I'm getting at. The way they use certain words. You know, casting spell through the spelling of words, whatever.
Disciple of the Arizal. And he gives another list of 30. And again, there is significant overlap, but there are some differences. So we essentially had 3 different lists of 30 Noahide laws. And where we left off last time is, can we make one definitive list? Can we fuse them together and make one? As we do that, as we go through all of them and see how we can put them together, we also want to answer a whole bunch of interesting questions, which we didn't get to last time. Can a Noahide have a mezuzah on their door? Can a Gentile put a mezuzah on their door? Can a Noahide pray? Can they pray from a Siddur? Can they keep Shabbat? That came up last time. We saw that it seems to be prohibited, certainly for an idolater, not clear for a Noahide. Can they keep Shabbat? Can they join a Pesach Seder? Can they build a Sukkah? Can they celebrate Sukkot? Can they go into a Sukkah? Can they learn what aspects of Torah can they learn? Can they learn Gemara? Can they learn Zohar, Kabbalah? How much Torah? Last time we seem to suggest that they should only learn what applies to them, which is a very interesting question. Like, what does that mean, only learn what applies to you? How much Torah is that really? So we want to answer all these questions and many more along the way. We're going to start with the big question, the big mystery. Why are there 30? Since when are there 30? If we always say there are 7, and in almost everywhere they are referred to as the 7 Noahide laws, how did we suddenly get to 30? Is it 7 or 30? This is the first mystery that we have to solve. And we can actually find the answer in the Talmud Yerushalmi. Remember, we have 2 Talmuds. We have the Talmud Bavli, which is the more famous one, but then there's also the Talmud Yerushalmi, which was composed in Israel, actually earlier, a little bit earlier. So the Yerushalmi in Masechet Avodah Zarah uses the same verse that we quoted in Masechet Chulin. There's a verse in Zechariah, right? Zechariah chapter 11, which talks about 30 pieces of silver. It's actually a very important verse because it sets up, it's right at the end of chapter 11 and sets up chapter 12, where Zechariah begins describing the end of days, Gog Magog, the final war in the end times, and Mashiach. And we talked all about Mashiach ben Yosef before. That was the source for Mashiach ben Yosef in the Tanakh, in Zechariah chapter 12. So this verse of actually 30 pieces of silver is setting it up at the end of chapter 11. So the Yerushalmi is quoting the same verse, V'ishkelu et tzchari shloshim kasef. They should weigh for me 30 pieces of silver. And the Bavli said last time that these are the 30 Noahide laws. And the Yerushalmi says here, Elu shloshim mitzvot. These are the 30 laws. She'atidin, that in the future, B'nai Noach lekabel aleihem, will take upon themselves. So there's that extra word here, which changes everything. In Masechet Chulin, it said there were 30 Noahide laws, but it didn't give us any more information. The Yerushalmi says, no. Elu shloshim mitzvot she'atidin b'nei Noach lekabel aleihem. That's the 30 laws that the Noahides will take in the future, in the end of days. Because remember, this verse in Zechariah 11 is setting up the end of days. That's the introduction to chapter 12, 13, 14, which is Zechariah describing Gog Magog and the whole thing in Mashiach. So in the future, when Mashiach comes, they'll take on 30 laws. So until now, we had 7. In the Messianic age, or in the pre-Messianic age, at the end of days, they will expand to 30. So yes, that's why we see until now, throughout history, there's always, the reference is always to 7 laws. It's always 7, 7, 7, 7. But now, as we transition to Mashiach's times, it's actually going to be 30. And the Gemara already encoded it for us, right? The Talmud in Masechet Sanhedrin and in Chulin.
Go to the 36-minute mark, kind of finish it up from there. Because he'll finish it up and wrap it up, and we have got to listen to all of it.
They do Shomer Shabbat, to keep Shabbat mechalelo, right? And not profane it. Veshomer yado me'asot kol ra, and not to do all evil. And this is where it proves the point. Continues. Ve'al yomar ben ha-nechar, and let not the foreigner, the nechar, the nochri, the Gentile foreigner say, do not say, hanilva el Hashem le'emor, havdel yavdileni Hashem me'al amo. Like, let not the foreigner think that, oh, like, I'm not special like them. I can't do this. I'm different. This was only for the Jewish people, not for me. God is saying, no, don't say that. Even the Nochri, even the most foreign stranger should not say that. Ve'al yomar hasaris, henani etz yavesh. Let not the saris. Who's the saris? The castrated one. Remember, a sirus, we said, is one of the 30 Noahide laws. So there's actually a castrated person. There's actually an allusion here to the 30 Noahide laws, again, in the end of days, because one of the 30 Noahide laws is called sirus, castration. So let not the saris, the castrated one, or what's called a eunuch, let that.
I put this in my video, so a lot of people have probably seen this, but the eunuchs, he's going to tell you what the modern day eunuchs are. Wait until you guys check this out. This is wild. Go ahead.
Them not say, I have no hope. I'm a dry tree. Etz yavesh. Saris, remember, there were eunuchs in ancient times. They would deliberately castrate boys and men for various reasons. It could be because they wanted them to protect. You wanted strong men to protect the royal women, but you also didn't want them to have affairs with the royal women. So they would castrate the men. Or they wanted them to be singers, and you had boys with nice voices, and they didn't want them to hit puberty and lose their nice voice, so they would castrate them. And so on. For various reasons, there would be eunuchs in royal courts and kingdoms all over the world. And that's called a saris. And God is saying, even the sarisim have hope. Which is really, this puzzled me, actually. When I was putting this together a few weeks ago, I was thinking like, okay, Yeshayahu is looking ahead to the end of days. Who are the sarisim today? Who is this even talking about? So I didn't know. It was actually a mystery. We don't have eunuchs anymore. Not common anyways. It's not a thing that we see. And then somebody sent me an email just a few days ago. See, Hashem always sends you the answer. Somebody sent me an email just a few days ago and basically gave me this idea. And I asked their permission to share this anonymously. And this is a person who the email started off like many emails that I get. I get a few of those per week, which are always nice to read, where a person says, I was born Christian and they were religious, but then they started to ask questions and they started to dig deeper. And then they realized things don't add up and didn't make sense. So then as they went to learn the actual sources, plunged into the Bible, ultimately they rejected Christianity and found Judaism. And the question was, okay, so now like I've been a Noahide, should I convert or should I stay a Noahide? Till now, everything's great. Those are common emails that I get. But then the next line was the surprise. The surprise was, however, I am transgender.
There it is.
So this is a man who transitioned and became a woman. So this was the question. What does that person do?
That's the stories.
And this person told me, suggested that perhaps the transgender people are the sarisim, meaning like we have deliberately castrated ourselves through things like gender reassignment surgery. And
you think there was transgenders back then? You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if there were. These androgynous freaking evil Masons and stuff. There probably were transgenders back then. What do you guys think?
I think so.
Well, in my research, Cleopatra wore a lot of makeup and might have been a man. But anyway.
Yeah.
I really do. I think it went way back. Well, think about the Bible where they say a man should not wear a woman's clothing.
He wouldn't have said that unless it was going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. It started, the evil started way back when.
And he says there's nothing new under the sun. Solomon talks about that in Ecclesiastes. Yeah, and I also think that the flood, before like the Tower of Babel, I think we've had resets throughout history. I think the flood was a huge reset. I think technology was really great because we know if you read the book of Enoch, the Watchers were the ones that gave man this technology, like to make weapons of war and all this stuff. So I definitely think that we got really technologically advanced. And then that was another way when God flooded the earth to kind of reset things. Just like when man was trying to build a tower up to heaven, you know what I mean? The Bible even says man would be able to do anything if he didn't stop it. So he confused their language and tore down the tower. So I definitely think we've went through like resets throughout history. And people always want to throw the evolution. You know how they say that we evolved from apes and that we get smarter as we go on. I think that we get dumber. I think it's like de-evolution. I think that men were a lot smarter way back then than they are now.
Well, that's why technical schools are fading away, and all you have is your regular colleges with what do they make you fill your curriculum up with. It's called like whatever credits electives or something like that. You have to do just whatever just to get your degree in whatever they say you're going to get your degree in.
Yep.
You know, then people are out running, working at McDonald's after they got their bachelor's degree, you know, or working at nothing to do with whatever they went to school for. Yep.
Yep. I think they had like I've even heard, you guys ever heard of the Nazi bell? Like there was this machine that could go pole to pole in a matter of seconds, which, you know, there's no poles, but I think that they probably did have, there's writings on like ancient walls of like spaceships and stuff. I don't think that it's spaceships from like outer space. I think it's technology that they were able like flying type devices and stuff. But yeah, we're definitely devolving and we're being dumbed down because I don't know if they sprayed fluoride and put it in the water back then, which I guess they probably did. Do you think they vaccinated people way back in the day?
Absolutely.
Michelle, absolutely.
Yeah.
So they had COVID-19 and wore masks back before the flood?
Well, you know, who knows really?
It was called like COVID-4, not COVID-19. They hadn't got that high.
COVID-4.
Yeah.
It was COVID. It was COVID-33.
There you go.
Telling you, it's like, you know, you have to sit there and you have to think back. This is not.
Well, hey, this guy's talking about eunuchs that were castrated. So obviously they had medical technology to be able to perform. You know, they had, like, if we were like cavemen with horse and buggy back then, there's no way they could perform a surgery and castrate someone. So that's a whole lie. I'm telling you, man, we were more advanced back then than we are now. I think that's what the Dark Ages really were. I think it was to really plant this lie in place for what's going on now.
I agree. There's so much that we don't know.
So much.
And
the more you know, the more you realize you don't know anything. You know?
Exactly.
The more we learn. It's crazy.
I feel like I'm going backwards, not forwards.
Yep.
If that makes any sense.
No, you're expanding, not in a bad way, but expanding knowledge is what it is. You're not gonna. I don't know how to explain that any better than that.
Turn around, but as I'm looking forward, I turn around and I'm like going, you know, there's so much back there because they sugarcoated our whole history. I mean, everything is a lie. Yep. So, I mean, nothing that they've told us is true. So, the more knowledge we get, the more I feel we're lost. I don't know. It's
still out there.
There's so much more. I mean, there's no way we could ever.
Well, when you get born, it's kind of like when you get born again. God takes the scales off your eyes, and you become a baby again. So you literally have to relearn everything because everything you were taught your whole life was a lie.
Right.
So now we're seeing a lot more because you got to admit, when you were young, when you were asleep, you know, people care more about football players and entertainment and movies. They don't care anything about the truth.
No.
So now once you wake up, you start, I mean, there's a whole lot more to learn about the truth than there is when pop culture. You know what I mean?
I guess the best way I was trying to get at it is like, you're going to get so much truth. Let's compare it to like a river that's bottlenecked right now. All these logs come floating down, and that's all the truth logs. You know what I mean? And your brain can only handle so many at once before it just starts letting it go through to an extent. And then you're on to a new adventure, if you will. You know what I mean? That was what I was meaning by the expanding. Like, there is so much stuff. Me and Chuck were just talking about it. You know, the more we learn, the more questions we have, and it is that way. But that's the way it's supposed to be, because it's supposed to be little by little. You get that knowledge little by little, that truth little by little.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Brian, I just had a thought. It's kind of like the body of Christ. You know, like some of us are feet and some of us are hands and some of us are the heart. And, you know, like none of us can be we all have our different purposes and callings, and we can't, like, I cannot do the job of another part of the body that I'm not designed to do. But all together we work together, you know.
Good
And
point.
I think it's pretty awesome. But yeah, I just had that thought.
Yeah, and you know, yeah, we all have bits and pieces that we can get out. I don't know what I can contribute, but I'm just saying that you know, I learned so much from you guys. All of you that are on the panel, you know, I learned a lot, you know.
Well, no part is less important than the other. Just because what you do is different than what, say, I do or Brian or Kip does, doesn't mean it's less important. You know, I mean, you're actually running the show, you're hosting it. You know, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of the glue right now. So
Yeah.
like, and if you think about biblical things, the most desired gifts should be the ones that get the least recognition, honestly, you know, like the last being first.
Right.
And how we're all different parts of the body and everybody's dealt their own measure of faith. So, you know, some are speaking with a little more meat, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And that's whatever. It is what it is. But we need all those different levels to pull in the people that would be coming in at the, you know, just having those scales removed and coming in and going, oh, I don't live on a whirling, twirling ball. What else? You know what I mean? You know, that's not the first thing I started with. That came about halfway through my journey, but you know, it was just learning that we've been lied to by our government. That's the big thing. And
Well,
then,
hey, you know what's so powerful is the church. You know, you talk about the church, the real church, that's the body. The church has never been a building because God doesn't dwell in temples made with hands. The body of Christ is the church, is the people. So, you know, when we come together, that's power. You know what I mean? That's, you know, when two or more gather in his name. You know, so this is true church.
he put his phone on a kite, put it in the air.
Oh, I'm sorry. I need to mute or whatever. Hi.
What's up?
Hi, James.
Hello.
James.
Oh, it was something brought up a moment ago, and I've been thinking about that particular statement made, which is how we're taught, right? So I've kind of put a lot of thought into that because it involves, you know, what we came with, right? Prior to waking up, right? What we came with and how we were sold it. Because it was so nonsensical, I've been trying to spend time thinking about how they got away with it and how they did it, right? And I'm sure you guys do too, but it really boils down to they would be able to make a claim and offer it to us in a, like, non sequiturs and contradictions made it seem intelligent. I see it that way. What do you guys think? Because, like, when you hear somebody try to, like, sound smart now when they're selling BS, like, are you guys able to spot the fallacy and the contradictions in this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Man. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been really focusing on trying to really dial in the terms of these, but also kind of the trick that's pulled, right? To try to, do you guys think there's a benefit there or what? Is there something we can garner from that to try to defend against it, or to really put, like, there's some patterns in it too, but it is 100% as well that the fallacy and the contradiction is there. You know what I mean?
It has to
Anyway,
brainwashing, and that's how they brainwash people.
yeah, it's there 100%. Every single thing they claim has it. So it's like, yeah, I've been trying to, I don't know. I felt like I was more prepared until I started talking. Now I'm kind of like, I'd like to be able to get into that. Maybe I'll prepare for next week and try and have something where there's some presentations and we can go into, like, I don't know if you want to. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'll be quiet.
No. You're always welcome, James. You're always welcome.
All right. Yeah, thanks.
Go ahead, Doug.
Main thing I focus on is contradictions, because there's so many contradictions in everything we see and we're told. And if you can pick out the contradictions, you can get closer to what is the real part.
and it's really, we have to be so very careful, in my eyes, in what I believe in. We have to be so very careful what we take in and take out, because it's a psyop within a psyop. So we got to be careful what we're listening to, and what, you know what I mean? Because they only release what they want us to know. And yeah, I think we're all have eyes to see. I really do. I really think that the people that come on this channel, the people that are in the chat, the people that are on the panel, I think that we have been given eyes to see. And Brian, psyop.
That's why I come here. I can feel the genuineness and the like trying to search for what could be true, and also hyper care. You've really impressed me, Michelle, with some of your abilities. So some of that natural ability that you have for finding things and seeing things that I missed. You impressed me.
Oh, well,
Thanks.
thank you.
And the genuine conversation that happens here, and trying to figure out what it is that's going on if we can. It's really it's good to be part of it. Yeah, so I agree 100%. Everybody here has been down the road and knows how to pick apart BS from other stuff and wants to spend the time.
And I think we all are have a little bit to give. You know, some have a lot more, but we all have different abilities, and I think it's very, very blessed. We're very blessed to have this kind of community, and I mean, just to have everybody here. I just wanted to say real quick, I wanted to say hello to Justine. Welcome, sister. I love you. I just want to let you know that you're always welcome here, and I got your back, girlfriend, and I'm just so glad to see you here. But anyway, I wanted to tell her hello and everything. But yeah, I think, we've always hi James, good to see you. Welcome. Good to see you. Swamp Lover. But I just think that, we all have a little bit to give. And if we can just keep coming back, week after week, while we got the time to do it, because I don't think it's going to last forever. But I think that we have a very, very, just everybody here. I mean, I can look in the chat and say there's Ange and everybody that's in here, Suspicious Guys. I mean, just everybody has something to give. I didn't say hello to Johnny. I do apologize, Johnny, that you've been on the panel just hanging out and you haven't said much. So I just wanted to say hello to Johnny. He is on our panel.
Hey, Johnny.
Hey, it's all right. I'm just hanging out. How's everyone?
Good.
We're doing good.
I just
Living
like
the
to say
dream.
hi
I'm good.
to George and his twin brother, the rabbi, as well.
Yep.
That's good to see you, brother.
Rabbi.
But hey, the one thing that
Yeah,
we all have in common, though, is think about it. We all got to realize that we've all been brainwashed and sold a pile of crap.
Yeah.
And it's like we're all starting out, and that's the one thing that we've all had our eyes open to what this world, it's all a learning process. And ego is the biggest enemy of truth.
Right.
Because you just you gotta be humble, and you really do. You have to love one another, and you have to love the truth. If you seek the truth with all your heart, mind, soul, that's like one of the royal commandments. You love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and then love one another.
Yeah.
And once you do that, then the rest is kind of downhill and gravy.
Yeah.
That's what I look at as the law of faith. That's how I
Yeah.
understand it, I think, versus the law of works, the works of the law.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's fun watching the impression of people when Michelle pops some truth on them. So you get a lot of different reactions from people. They just don't want to hear it.
Nobody does.
Yeah, I agree.
They don't. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, we have such a good group of people, and I love it. I just want to emphasize the people that come back week after week, and the people that are on my panel keep coming back. I just want to let you guys know, you guys are my family. I feel so close to you guys, and I'm very thankful and grateful to have you guys here all the time. You know, I just want you guys to know that I cherish it. You know what I mean? It's charity to me. Charity. You know, and if you guys know what charity means, that's love. And so I just wanted to express that, guys, because, you know, I'm just very thankful for it.
Well, honestly, we're all closer to each other than we are, our own families, most of us, because
Absolutely. 100%.
So it's funny because I still watch the news for different reasons, not much, but more local. But I saw a blip on something is concerning some violent gang activity in Galveston. And I just remember when I worked in Houston a few years back that we took a trip to Galveston, and it wasn't that far away. But nonetheless, I not only questioned whether the narrative was true or why it was being put out there, but I thought about you because you're down in the Houston area. So, you know, and then I wonder if you've seen an increase in street violence.
So is that on the news that you're seeing that, Kip?
Yeah, something recently about a big street gang shootouts in the Galveston area.
Was that the one with the football player from the rookie? There was one recently that this rookie got shot. The bullet went through him, and he got out of the hospital today. And it happened, I think, on Friday or yesterday. Is that part of that? Like all this, I think a lot of those are gonna start boosting more in the next few months. To be honest.
Say it again, Deb.
I saw the news of the football player getting shot in the leg, I think, and it went all the way through. But that was a couple.
Oh,
of
was
weeks
it the
ago.
leg? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I haven't seen anything other than that.
This one looked like this looked like a flat out like multiple weapon shootout, like lots of bang bang, you know. So yeah.
Galveston. Where's Galveston?
It's about 45 miles south of Houston.
It's on the coast.
South of Houston? Okay.
Yeah.
Suspicious guys just put a good comment. And they said they gave up the TV, you know, just can't stand the constant doom and gloom. I gave up the TV a long time ago because I used to tell my wife, I'm like, man, all it is negativity. It's so dark, all of it. It's not nothing positive on there. So then I used to watch only the Weather Channel. We would only watch the Weather Channel. Then that same shit trickled into the Weather Channel. You know what I mean? Because the Weather Channel would show different things at the time, but then they started becoming news just like everybody else. So I don't watch none of that stuff.
you have to stop the TV, man. That's the Black Mirror.
Yeah.
And the Weather Channel will focus on the ball for you.
Yeah.
A bunch of my videos in years past, ever since I stopped watching the news and went over to the Weather Channel, till I realized what they were doing, my videos came off of the Weather Channel's reports. You know what I mean? Because I realized that I could make, you know, videos about the news being junk, and then I was just like, well, wait a minute. Now I'm making videos about the weather reports and things like that. Their news articles that pop up and populate it. You know what I mean? All that crap. Junk and lies.
Who did you lose? There was you had 6. Someone jump off.
Yeah.
Yeah, John, I think left.
James jumped off.
But yeah, I look at news stuff every day, and I find so much just blatantly fake stories that they put in. Just and I wonder what was the reason they did this story or that story.
Well, I just think it's all to continue the fear, and it's really it isn't, but it is. You really have to really look at something if you're going to look at the news and see the news story, see what they show. Is it something they're just saying, or is it something they're showing? And when they start showing it, then you really have to look into what the videos that they are showing to pull out. Because I can tell you, I can pull it out. If they're showing physical video, I can pull it out and see if it's real or not.
She stopped it in a second.
And I'm not 100% on anything, but I'm saying I pretty much can tell. But on the news nowadays, they can just say something happens and maybe show a short clip. I mean,
Yeah.
So what's your take on that, Kip? Do you think that what you're hearing in Galveston is real?
I don't know. It could be or couldn't be. Either way, it's the agenda that they're pushing. I tend to think that a lot of that is less real. I don't like to say always or never, or everybody or nobody or things like that, because I think there's always the exception.
Right.
So I tend to think that there's an agenda, and so that is probably not real in my opinion. But I certainly question it. But as far as the agenda, it goes right along with gun violence and taking away our rights there.
Right. So I'm going to circle back on something and give my opinion. I was listening to a live stream the other night. I'm not going to mention it because I don't want to put any fingers. But they were talking about the Trump shooting with his ear, and they thought that it was a false flag, that the Trump thing was fake, but the person that got killed was a false flag that was in the crowd. And I'm just going to give my opinion on that. So they were calling it real. They thought maybe it could be real. They weren't saying it was 100% real, but they were talking about false flags. And I'm going to kind of give you my definition on psyops and false flags, just because that's my thing. So I disagree with that channel. But I love that channel. Put it that way. Doesn't mean I'm right or they're wrong. I'm just saying. But they were calling it probably the person that got killed in the crowd was real. And I'm going to just put my take on that kind of thing, and I'm going to just tell you my opinion on it. You can't mix fake with real. You can't have a whole stage of fake and then in the background have real. It's not going to work. It's not going to pan out. And if anybody looks back on those videos, Kip, you're very good. You did a lot of videos on that. But they also had handlers. They have handlers that wranglers, what they call them,
right?
Directors that are in the back, and they got them all around. The person that supposedly got killed was, if you go back on the videos, you can tell that it's not real. It's not reaction from real people for somebody getting shot. Because if I saw some blood flying and I was right next to that person, I'd be screaming at the top of my lungs. Nobody was screaming. Nobody was, But
Good point.
So people have to realize you can't mix fake with real. They're not going to have the real tent over here, and they're not going to have the fake tent over here. They're not going to mix those psyops. If they're gonna do a false flag, it's going to be war. That's a false flag. They're going to say, okay, this is happening over here, and then they're going to get all your soldiers to run out there, and they're going to sit there and say you're fighting a war, and then people get killed. That's a false flag. So a psyop is a psyop. A false flag is a false flag. That's the only false flag that I can personally look back on is wars. I'm sure there might be some missing in my mind. But as far as I can look back, when there's something that's a production, something that's produced, something that by all means, it's a psyop. It's a psyop from beginning to end.
100%.
Hey, let me add something real quick about that. And this is the most important thing about when you're searching for truth, is that if you agree, if you have an opinion on something, and you're talking to someone and they disagree with you and you get mad, it's
Right.
like if you get butthurt or offended, that's your ego. That's your ego getting in the way of truth. You know, we can disagree. If somebody disagrees with what you believe, there's no reason to get mad or butthurt about it. You know, I mean, if
Right.
you're standing in the truth, then nothing's going to offend you. Because
Right.
if you get offended and you get butthurt, then that's a problem, you know, with you. That's your ego getting hurt. Your feelings are getting hurt.
Right. And you know, I've been wrong many times on different
We all
things.
have.
I've posted videos that I shouldn't have, and I've taken them back down. You know, because I don't want to give out any disinformation, but I can't be 100% on anything. But I'm going to tell you what to look out for, and what, you know. There's some things that I can give to the table, and there's some things I can't.
Well, we're never going to be 100% on anything, but in our hearts,
Right.
that's where is what, you know, matters. It's that you went and did the video and you thought it was good, and then you realized you should take it down, and you took it down. I've done the same thing, whatever, you know what I mean? Or even comments. I'm like, well, I shouldn't have said that comment. I erased that comment because it made no sense. Or make a rebuttal video because there's something I messed up on, and I'm like, oh yeah, well, this guy showed me this scripture, and you know, I didn't see that, and whatever. But yeah, anyway. We're not going to be 100 on everything. We're not going to be
absolutely,
perfect.
absolutely. And you know, I've looked at enough psyops. I mean, that's my specialty. That man, I learned from Vegas, the Vegas shooting. That's where I started. That's where my eyes started opening up. That's where my awakening started, was from the Vegas shooting. And that was probably the best thing that could have happened, because it opened my eyes to a lot of different things to be able to see. And it took many years for me to, you know, grasp a lot of stuff. But at the same time, I'm not 100% on anything. But I just wanted to clarify that, because I don't, you know, in my opinion, there's no way. You can't mix fake with real. If you're going to have a false flag, it's going to be a false flag. It's not going to be, it's going to be behind the scenes. It's not going to be
exactly.
Yeah, it's not going to be, you can't have.
Hey,
go ahead.
If you're going to control, think about it.
Yeah.
If you're going to control it,
Yes.
you got to control it all. You can't have something real, because if it's real, then you're going to have people's family members or people messing up the narrative.
Well,
They're going to be
So
in here and doing
I
this.
got a question.
You got to control it all.
So what do you think? Okay, what do you think 2001 was then? A psyop, or what was the other one? Shit.
Controlled demolition.
100%.
No, but I mean, yeah, okay. And then the war, I guess, was the war the psyop too?
I think they went to war and killed a bunch of innocent people over there in Iraq. I mean, I've talked to people that went over there, and there was all kinds of crap that happened. But what do you guys think, Michelle, Brian?
I've heard stories, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So 9/11 was one thing. What it continued on to be was a false flag, which they create the wars. They create all that stuff.
It was to instill power over there, because the people in the Middle East wanted to start trading oil and gold, not the petrodollar. That's at least my research.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, and right now they're doing it through the euro now, and well, I think it's already started with parts of areas of I think like Iran, and I think Iran is a big one, but I don't remember the other one. I don't know if the Ukraine. I don't think Ukraine is in there.
Hey, and look.
Yes, exactly, Dub.
Look at what it did. They did that over there, and then over here we had all these laws. You know, that just tightened the whole noose about the New World Order. We got the, you know, Homeland Security. We got the Patriot Act. We got the TSA. I mean, it's just more freedom. It's all about more freedom being taken away.
Yeah, absolutely. I think 9/11 was the beginning of the whole New World Order. And I think that was a blast off. That was it.
Yes, I agree.
Bush did his speech before 9/11. Remember, it was in Was it 2001 or was it 91 when Bush did the New World Order speech?
91.
And then 93 was the first attack on that, you know, the towers.
Yeah, it was the underground or the parking lot or whatever it was.
So quick comment and then a question, but I personally believe, I do think, I mean, whether it was a psyop or not, I tend to believe it is more of a psyop, but and I've got reasons, but I do think people actually died in 911. I'm not saying all of the people that have died or whoever, but I do think that there were people that died in 911. I've seen some really interesting articles and studies where they've found bone fragments of people in buildings, you know, way far away that could only come from an explosion propelling out, you know, in a direction that they shouldn't have been. But nonetheless, when you said, and not to say like don't comment on that, but one of the first things that I remember, because I used to live in Oklahoma, Timothy McVeigh and the Oklahoma City.
Totally the same thing.
Yeah.
100%.
100.
I like to say on that, like what Kip was just saying, you know, I'm not saying that no one died there at ground zero and all that stuff too. No, definitely people probably stuff happened there. There ain't no way bodies didn't perish with all the explosions and all that stuff like that. With that said, there was it was pre-planned. That's all I can say too. You know what I mean? Like it was pre-planned and thought out how this would all go down. And but can I say that every single person, no one perished at all? No, I can't say that.
But hey, does it really matter?
Yeah, it was scheduled for demolition.
Yeah, does it matter at the end of the day though? If people die,
Well, it does matter. Yeah. We will probably never know completely, 100%, but it does matter. All truth matters.
Well, how about this? September, what is it, 9/11. So in 33 years prior to 9/11 taking place, that's when the 9/11 dialing code came to life. And that's when those buildings were built, something along those lines. They were built the same year the 9/11 dialing code became a thing. And 33 years later on 9/11, they came down. Anyway.
Well, by the way, it's going to be 23 years since 2001. So that's going to be interesting.
But Michelle, on the same note, Vegas, I mean, I was a skywalker for a long time before Vegas, but Vegas was a huge rabbit hole, and I still kind of lose sleep over it. But at the end of the day, I was actually injured in it. Just the lack of evidence, the lack of any information, even to this day, is just proof of it. In a town that has more cameras per capita or whatever in America, we still don't have answers and footage. You know, it's just it's obvious what happened.
Oh, that's what I missed in my brain. I said all the things that I said, but so do I think that no one died that day? No, I can't be sure on that. But do I believe the footage that I was shown on TV with people just jumping out windows and things like no, I don't believe that stuff.
Right.
Go ahead, Doug. Give your take on that, and I'll give my take on that.
For a long time, I thought that the death toll of 9/11 was true. I've been studying it ever since I've stumbled down that rabbit hole. But I finally come to the conclusion that it was a media event. Everything about 9/11 was not as we were told. And I call it a media event because I do not believe anyone was killed, nor in Oklahoma City, nor in Vegas. And this comes with a lot of studies, not just a snap thing. It's something that I have looked into a lot. And one of the main things that helped me on 9/11 was I run across the NIST report and the downloads for that. And I downloaded most of the NIST report and studied that. And comparing the two, I could see the complete fakery of the whole thing. That's just my take on it.
You know, as I was trying to say, that a media event was, they had everything set up on the ground. They had all their witnesses, their reporters, everybody set up on the ground. All the people that could speak and say, "Oh, I saw the planes hit the towers," and this and that.
Or the guys that were like, "Well, I think it was due to mainly structural damage." You know what I mean?
You know, those are the kind of things that you have to look at. So, there's just like little bits and pieces that you can pull out. I can't be 100% sure that nobody died. I think somebody died. I think all a lot of the first responders, a lot of them died from the wreckage. They cleared the wreckage as soon as they could, so they didn't find any bodies. If anybody can remember, they pulled out one body or two bodies from the rubble and then pulled it away. So those are the kind of things that people have to think about.
And at the 10-year anniversary or memorial, whatever you want to call it, the first responders were not invited. It was only politicians, stuff like that.
I don't think they were all in on the psyop, but I think that, you know, they were put on the
I remember. Sorry to interrupt, but I remember when they were saying, "Hey, on the news too, they don't need respirators." I don't know how they got into this conversation, and then years later, it's all over. You can find videos on YouTube. Years later, all these guys ended up with diseases now because of the exposure.
So Michelle, on something you said, it reminded me of something. Because I've found some footage, and I've been working on a video with the Corey Comparatori family where he was, unalived, and I haven't put it out yet. But the way, in what crime scene where there was someone that had just been shot, right? In what crime scene would you come through and not clear everybody out, but you're going to just have everybody while they're there, all the state troopers come in, not even have a towel over him, pick him up by all four limbs and drag him out in front of everybody standing there.
Right.
I've never seen anything so ridiculous in my life.
They just got done watching Larry the Cable Guy, and they're like, "Get her done."
Is this the one at the school when they picked it up and it looked like it was just one of those crash test bodies?
No, this was actually in the bleachers at the Trump, assassination attempt. It was supposedly Corey Comparatori, and they showed it, and I think it was a mannequin because I've seen close-ups of the bloodied head, and I've got them, and I just haven't put it out yet, and I will, I imagine, but I just want it to be right, because I'm kind of a perfectionist, and I try to work on that too. But
remember, you ain't gotta be 100, man.
Yeah, a mannequin. Why not a mannequin? And then they got like sensors on it, and then it pops at the right time, just like they did in the limousine.
No, I think they actually brought the mannequin in after, because all the camera footage cuts away. Then they bring the mannequin in,
so that's like the Zapruder film. They cut the footage after the sign, because I'm like, you can tell there's footage missing. Right. They cut it right after the sign, and then that car that's there, and then all the people that's there, that's not even the original footage. And they called it the Zapruder film. And meanwhile, exactly what you're talking about, Kip, is possible that they could have done the same thing in that scenario as well, is what I'm saying. Theoretically speaking, you know what I mean? So it makes sense.
I think that's what they did, but at the end of the day, the craziest thing to me is it's a crime scene. What crime scene have you ever seen where someone just got murdered, where they come in and just grab the body before it's even been outlined in chalk and just drag it out of there?
Isn't that the coroner's usually the coroner, right?
It's not the state patrolman usually,
but it's the coroner, isn't it? Don't they investigate the whole situation, and then the coroner comes in and moves the body,
or an EMT or something? Yeah, I mean, generally, I would think it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a lot of anomalies and things like that. Usually means that it'll come to a point. There's no ending because they set the whole thing. It's staged, right? Most of the time, when you find a cold case like that and you can't find it, then it's usually not a cold case, but something like that. In my opinion, from my research as well, when it comes to a certain point where they won't let you figure out who did it, what happened, right? So they give you like things like, oh, the umbrella gunshot. I'm just saying, for example, that's, I don't know why I thought it, but yeah. So what's her name, the babushka lady, right? Those are all distractions. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing with, you know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say. So I agree.
Yeah.
And on the Trump thing, where he says that he was hit hard and he heard the bullet whiz by him.
Yeah.
Now put yourself in that position. What would be your reaction if you got hit real hard in the right ear, and what would be your reaction?
There wasn't no reaction. There wasn't no reaction from Trump. There was no reaction from the crowd. There was no reaction from anybody else, and they all staged. And I believe a lot of these videos are pre-done before they even do the psyop.
Yes.
So
yeah, I agree because
they already have them ready to rock and roll to show this angle and that angle and over here that angle. They already have them sitting on the side so that they can push the whole psyop together. They did that in Vegas. They did it everywhere.
Well, during the so during 2019, in those years that we were like supposedly stuck, when they were advertising the ads, they got to go back 3 months and know what kind of ads are coming ahead. So how is it that they already knew that was gonna already be there? Like with that's what was coming up in whatever it was. I don't know when. I think it was May, right, of 2020 that it started. So that's my connection to it, to add to Michelle, because I agree with what you're saying as well. Well, I agree with all you guys, regardless. Right. I agree with what everyone's saying.
We all have truth to what we're saying. I'm just saying that most things are planned in way ahead of time. Yes. They're already said and done before they do the psyop, at least a year or more. They're all way planned. We already know the COVID thing was way planned ahead of time. It wasn't something that just fell in there. They had all the videos and all this. Everything was all set up, just like any psyop. It's all pre-planned. They already have these videos. You think that they might be part of it, but they've got all actors in line. They're all actors. Even if you have thousands of actors, they're all acting. They're like, you're going to run this way, you're going to run this way, we're going to do this way, and we're going to go this way. You're going to scream over here. We're going to jump up and down. We're going to be like, crying. We're going to do this. It's so pre-planned.
Yeah, people don't believe it because their whole thing is, oh, but you're talking about 3,000 people. Yeah, then I'm like, yeah, but that's just a number. How do you even know that? Right? Who do you like? There's hundreds of thousands of them. Is what I.
How can they control the whole world as they've been doing? How can they have control of every government, every head of state in the whole world if they don't know what the heck they're doing? They know exactly. How can they disarm countries if they don't know what the heck they're doing? They can do it with a drop of a hat. They are in control. They've always been in control. And everybody, that's what I'm trying to say, is everything they do is controlled. Period.
And it's Freemasons. I think everything to distract away from that. I think even like this whole video started, we were talking about the Noahide. And it's amazing. It's been amazing to me to kind of see how really the roots of Freemasonry go back to the descendants of Noah, which are Ham's sons. It's based in Noahide law. And so it's all this Illuminati or whoever or whatever. I think it's all a distraction by design away from Freemasonry. Because I think that's the Freemasons are the ones running the show, and it's all by design. I think they have.
No, they're just another. They're just that's the trick. They're just another branch, but I don't want to say. But it's in Rome. Yeah, there's a big. Yeah, of course, it's an octopus, 100%. But the main is being so the main is the U.S. because they're the military. The Rome is the religious, and there's a place in Britain where is the like the money is what I'm trying to say. And I think there's one more, but I don't remember. There's four that's in control. Like they speak to each other, and then family it branches out. So USA, that's their guy. Like whatever. I'm just saying, right? Like how is the guy where I'm from? How is he still in office? How does that make sense? Just saying.
Because he's appointed there. He's put there by the elites. He's there by design. So it's all part of. He's just playing his role.
Well, exactly, yeah. But nobody wants to. Obviously, we're talking about it, but a lot don't want to. So
I just wanted to say, Swamp Lover. I tried to play the link that you put down. It's telling me to disable my ad blocker, which I just don't want to do. It won't let me play it unless I disable it, which means I'm just going to get a bunch of ads on the rest of my,
on everything.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I don't know where Chuck went. He just dropped out and didn't say nothing. Yeah. Maybe he had to go real quick. I don't know, but because he usually does say something.
Maybe his phone died.
I'll try to pull that video up and we can go around it that way. But that'll be for another day.
But yeah, so we can go on and on about psyops, but it's really crazy. I question everything that I say in a sort of way that I'm like, is it a psyop within a psyop within a psyop within a psyop?
Exactly. And I like to focus a lot on local news. For instance, this past week, my local station did a video on a gunfight out in the parking lot, and they play the sounds of the gunshot, and then they show you the muzzle flash from the gunshots, which were just fake. And of course, people see those little lights flash and they think that's muzzle blast, but it's not muzzle blast. And
which one was? Sorry to interrupt, Dub. Which shooting? When was this? Sorry.
What are you talking about?
My local station this past week. They had supposedly a gunfight out in a parking lot. And they were showing the gunfire and playing the gunfire. And what they were showing was just doctored video. It was not muzzle flash, period. And you can break the video down and tell that for sure.
But we've found out local news is just as bad as national news.
Absolutely.
I think they have to hit it at the local, to begin with, to get everybody on board. So, we've totally 100% seen a lot of local that is just BS. Ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I'm not a weapons connoisseur, but I remember going paintball shooting and hearing, or even just watching videos, hearing soft rifles. And what do you guys think? Isn't that what you felt like it happened in that other with the Trump situation?
Say
If
that again.
anyone knows better than I do about soft rifles, soft airsoft rifles, to me, that's what it sounded like.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a big bang behind it, shall we say? But yeah, I know.
Right. There was no echo. There was it
no
most,
big report.
Right.
Is what
No
they call
gun
it.
report. Yes.
right.
And if you analyze the video, the audio of it, you can tell it was not real gunfire.
I knew right away, and I'm not even I don't even know what that means. You guys said report?
Yes.
It's the sound, it's the echo, basically. Like you can see like if someone's firing from you a mile away, you'll see the blast, and then you'll hear the report. You won't see it and hear it at the same time if it's from that distance away.
You'll hear the initial explosion, and then you will hear the
Just think of a bottle rocket. They call them bottle rockets.
You would be able to see. Yeah, but you would be able to see something as well. I didn't see anything either. At least I know it's a video, but if they're gonna do something like that, wouldn't they at least try?
But you can take the audio and analyze the audio, and you can see the initial flash, the initial explosion, and then you're gonna see a bunch of residual sounds as it. You don't just hear the explosion. You hear the explosion, and then the report of the explosion. So you can break that down visually and see if there's a report there or just the initial explosion.
Okay.
I don't know how long. I don't know how long this is. It's a short. So I was gonna play this because Lumpy sent it. So I'm gonna just play it real quick and see what it says. All right.
It's going to be a hell of a long walk back to Hill Valley from here. Still, let's take this plan. After all, we can't risk sending you back into a populated area or to a spot that's geographically unknown. You don't want to crash into some tree that once existed in the past. You don't want to crash into some tree that once existed in the past. Yeah, Doc, it's going to be a hell of a long walk back to Hill Valley from here. Still, let's take this plan. After all, we can't risk sending you back into a populated area or to a spot that's geographically unknown. You don't want to crash into some tree that once existed in the past. You don't want to crash into some tree that once existed in the past.
And then you got that massive freaking TV screen back there or whatever.
Right.
Is that Devil's Mountain or whatever they call that?
Devil's Tower, I think, is what it's called. I think.
A big petrified tree?
Yeah.
You know that Biff in the one where he went to the future and Biff was running the whole town and everything. He was the rich one. That character was actually based off of Trump. I just found that out recently.
Right.
Thought that was interesting. But now I keep thinking about Vegas now with all that gunfire and gun report now, Michelle. Because remember, it was just so ridiculous. I remember initially hearing like you heard single semi-automatics, bump stocks, and automatics. Like you heard multiple different types of rounds going off at the same time. And this is all supposed to be one man. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
and
it's so
simulated.
Yeah, we came to the conclusion that they were the LRADs. So they were speakers. They had there was no gunfire whatsoever.
And there were definitely helicopters that went off grid that they were on grid and they went off grid for that entire time period and they weren't able to be found.
Okay,
that was part of the psyop.
That's totally in error.
Okay.
If an aircraft turns off their transponder, it means absolutely nothing other than that aircraft is no longer transmitting information about that aircraft. Ground
Right.
radar picks the aircraft up, and once the ground radar has it, it doesn't matter if the transponder's on or off. It doesn't mean that ground can not see the aircraft now. It's
Okay.
just the aircraft's not in. But that's something that they use a lot, which is just a total.
Rabbit trail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Vegas was, like I said, was the very first psyop that I ever came into, but I spent 3 years of my life looking into it, and I'm telling you, that kind of showed what they were capable of from here on out. And yeah, the you know, the helicopters that they thought maybe there wasn't a shooting, period. Okay.
Right. I agree. Michelle, do you remember the guy? Who was the guy that was really, and I can't remember him, but I'm sure he was part of the end, but he was exposing it, and he was doing a lot of videos. He'd always wear he was dark haired and always wore these dark sunglasses and like a black baseball cap.
Okay, so did he die?
I don't know. No, he was actually on YouTube exposing the video. Like he was doing all these videos and stuff exposing.
What was his name?
And that was
oh
God. He was really popular. He had a big. I mean, he was big.
Yeah, and
he ended up dying supposedly.
He was totally fake.
I figured.
Oh golly,
what the heck was his name? He kind of was like a.
He was the helicopter guy.
No,
he was trying to say it was all done by helicopter.
No.
This is just a truther, supposedly.
It was
dark-haired, kind of scruffy looking. I mean, I'd say probably a good-looking dude. You know, pretty well-polished videos.
Who? John? Who?
No.
I didn't mean to get you off on that rabbit trail. I'm sorry.
That's a hard one because I'm telling you that was a long time ago for me. But the one I think you're talking about, eventually he died.
Okay.
He died like right at the end of the investigation, or like I don't know.
You're talking about the guy from Canada.
I don't know where the heck
he died right around the time his PayPal account opened up, is what you're saying?
Probably. This guy was very, very big.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I can't remember, but I'll look into that. I forget his name, but I know it. It's like on the tip of my tongue.
I'd love to do a recap on it sometime because it's been a while, and it would, you know, just like we kind of go back sometimes and recap 911, you know, just for whatever reason. I don't see a lot of recaps on Vegas, you know.
Well, Vegas was a very, it was very in-depth, very crazy, but it didn't get a lot of exposure. I would talk to regular people and they would be like, people that, didn't care or whatever. Didn't even know it happened.
Yeah.
So Danny's a really good one on that one. He would be one. He'd be one of my go-to guys. Dub and myself. There's a few other people, but I'm telling you,
it was a world of experience.
Robot voice guy.
We gathered.
Hi, Shady.
Yeah, it was, Dub. I lost so much sleep over Vegas because it didn't add up, and I just knew. Even like, because ultimately it came down to, I think, one of my last beliefs was maybe the Israelis were behind it or the Saudis were behind it, you know, because of some blood oath or something. I don't know. I still don't know.
None of that. None of that.
No,
it is just a straight up old
yeah.
Just Maury Povich for views, huh?
Just another psyop event that, you know, a good old elites take over.
Yeah.
What you showing here, Brian? He's been trying to get on screen.
Brian, where you been, man?
Well, he's been trying to get my attention.
Trying to get in. Okay.
Hey, gang, I got to jump off. Sorry, I love you. Thanks, Michelle. Dub, I'll be in the chat here in a little bit, but I got to go help out with family stuff. So, Brian, everybody, Swamp Lover, love you guys.
Thank you, Kev.
Later.
You have a good night.
Later.
Yeah. God bless
I'll
you,
be back
brother.
in the chat. Thank you. All right, love y'all.
Okay, so what are you showing us, Brian? We can't hear you. If you're trying to talk, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute.
Oh,
But
there you go.
anyway, yep. I was just sharing it because of the Mandela effect. Suspicious guys put in, you know, the Mandela effect. I don't even think Tesla was real. And then it just made me think. I've done a video on Tesla and him and all the cars in that movie, Leave the World Stage Behind, I like to call it, you know. But anyway, yep, there's Tesla. Who knows if he was real, but supposedly the story is that Donald Trump's uncle stole all the stuff. John Trump
Right.
took all of his, you know, research.
I've heard that. Can't verify it. Never really looked into it.
Yeah,
And then earlier,
sorry, I wanted to ask Dub, you looked into that part?
who are you talking to? Me?
Well,
Dub?
I guess both of you. You guys, because the Tesla thing is interesting.
Yeah, well, Nikola Tesla was probably really the real person that invented the radio and a lot of other things that have been attributed to other people. Not-
Considering that all our history was a lie, that,
Yeah.
you know, you don't got Einstein
and
I just don't
Edison.
Einstein. Edison, that's what I was trying to say.
But yeah, it's I think so much of the advanced electronic stuff was actually Tesla that came up with it, because he did some pretty remarkable stuff.
Bumper cars have
Have you
always been
guys-
electric. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry. What?
That's true. No, I was just gonna ask if anyone has read any newspaper articles like Dub. But have you read any articles of Nikola Tesla or Brian or Michelle?
I watched a lot of videos about Tesla because I was very interested, because that was my field, my interest, and I watched a lot of stuff about Tesla. Longer.
I've watched some things and seen stuff on like the History Channel or whatever, you know, on TV even about them. But then after seeing that Erwin stuff a few years back and the free energy and all that, that makes me think of Tesla and all that stuff too. You know what I mean? So there's a reason his name is out and about, and you know, like he was going to release free energy to all of us. You know, it's that same old story again. That's how I look at it. And that's back that they tie that stuff with the mud floods and everything too, if people don't remember.
Like, in a way, I think they created these characters just so they can patent things and hide it from everybody. That's, in the end, that's what the whole outcome to me is what happened, just so they can hide everything from the old world. And they say it was the Chicago World's Fair, but meanwhile, it's always been there. You know what I mean? And then they destroyed it, like gradually from the early to the late 1800s to the late, and then you had all those wars, right? So that's what I think, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, what you were talking about patents a minute ago, you know, good old smartest man Einstein, you know, he stole patents from the patent office, and then people that would be like co-whatevers, you know, co-inventors would be the original guys who made the patent, you know. So yeah, they steal technology, they steal knowledge and present it as their own and present themselves as the heroes, the saviors, the goats, whatever they want to be called, you know.
Well, yeah, Thomas Edison, yeah. He was the lead hand of the patent office back when he was, I think it was in the late 1800s. And a lot of people don't know this. So obviously, how did he get all these ideas for different things that were invented? But meanwhile, these things were just compartmentalized throughout time. But though I think they created just to patent things is what I think. Yeah.
Very possible. Very possible. If he was working in the patent office, then he had access to all the.
Well, it's a known, like it's a fact that he was the one of the he was the, I don't know, I think he was the president of of that office. You can check it out. It's
I think I've seen something on that. I just not fresh in my mind, but yeah, that would give him access to a lot of technology. He was credited with the light bulb and with the radio.
If Hugh Hefner was Trump's dad, then who was his mom? Just shooting the shit.
That's funny.
Never, ever doubt.
That's funny. Well, guys, do you think we should call it a night? We've been going on almost 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have lives to live. But I thought it was a good show. I really had fun.
Agree.
Very, very, very good show. What do you think, Brian?
Yep. I'm going to go to bed happy tonight.
Yeah.
All right. Informative, which is always a plus.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle, Dub, Chuck, Brian, for having me, and Kip as well. You guys were great.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
thanks.
thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on, Johnny. Thank you, Brian, of course. Love having you on the panel every time that we come on here. And Dub Wilkinson, yes, love you. And thank you, Kip, for coming on and being our guest.
Yep.
You're always welcome on here, Kip. Anytime, you just shoot me a text, and you can be on here every week. I'd love having you on here. Chuck Middleton, I know you had to get up early. Sorry, brother. Love having you on here. Also, everybody in the chat, thank you for coming by and hanging out with us. We love having you here. And God bless everybody. Love you guys, and you all have a wonderful week, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, everyone, for
Thank
hanging
you.
out.
See you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.